Prime, serving America's great sports networks.
Spring has sprung. Summer's done. It's time for the Fall Frolic at Toledo Speedway. A place where anything can happen, and often does. What goes around here. Fast race cars on the edge of disaster in close quarter racing that's long been the trademark of America's premier short track racing series. Some days you eat the bear, and other days the bear eats you, even when you're all alone. Folks, words can't begin to describe what you're about to see today. The AC-Delco Challenge Series visits Toledo Speedway for the second time this year. We're getting set for fun in the sun, the Fall Frolic, 400 laps of racing on this half-mile oval. We dodged a bullet a little bit on the weather here today. Some nervousness around the racetrack as a weather front blew through, but it went right on by and the sun has come out. Once again, we're going to be under perfect racing conditions here for the American Speed Association. Hello, everybody. I'm Brian Drever, along with my friend Rob Albright. We're standing together on the racetrack this time, and we're getting set for 400 laps of racing here, the Toledo 400, the second time, as we mentioned, that we're visiting. And while some of the other series around the country may have wrapped up their season, or the points championship battles are all but done, well, here we are far from over.
We very definitely have a championship much at issue here this afternoon. We'll get to that in a minute. I found a very interesting story on the starting grid right behind us. 2nd through 7th in the starting positions, we've got Bob Seneker, Scott Hansen, Tony Raines, Mike Miller, and Brad Loney, and they currently are bunched together less than 90 points apart in the point standings in 4th through 9th. So they knew what they had to do in the last 2 races of the season, and they proved it in qualifying. But up front, who would have believed that young Brian Refner, in just his 2nd season of ASA competition, would be the man at the point. He's the man they've got to beat to win the championship. Glenn Allen is there waiting for a mistake, but so is that other guy, Mike Eddy.
Well, the young guns, of course, they're the guys trying to chase Mike Eddy, the 7-time champion of the American Speed Association. We had to ask them what they have to do to win it.
Well, for us, I think we have to win races to catch the leader in the points. So for us, is to sit on the pole today here at Toledo and hopefully win the race tomorrow is our big key. We're only going to pick up points by finishing in positions in front of the guy that's in front of us, so that's the object for us. Mike behind me, I have to race hard all 400 laps to be able to gain points and to stay in second where I'm at. So we're excited. It's a big weekend for us.
Today, we don't have that much of a points lead. We're just as much battle as them guys are. So, that's how we want to go out of this today with a, top 5 finish like we wanted every race.
A couple of young drivers chasing virtually a living legend in Mike Eddy. They may be the young guns, but the man who is behind the wheel of the 88 car is the proverbial 800-pound gorilla. And standing down there with the man is the 3rd member of our broadcast team. Here's Ricochet Ralph Shaheen.
Brian, when we were here back in May, early this year, Mike Eddy won the race and he started deep in the field. Today, you will start 16th, Mike, and you're only 94 points away from claiming your 8th championship. What do you got to do to win this title?
Well, first of all, we got to finish today and, see what happens. There's 2 races left, a lot of laps. Anything can happen.
It is a 400-miler or 400-lapper, and that gives Mike Eddy plenty of time to move up from that 16th starting position, Brian.
Thank you, Ralph. Taking a look at the track here, a half-mile oval and one that's very familiar to us.
It is, and some things were done overnight. Apparently some sealer put on the racetrack. Who knows what's going to happen, but that 18-degree banking in the turns and 4-degree straightaways, it means that a car wants to run low through the corners, high on the straights, and there's a lot of racing action going to happen today.
Well, the biggest difference between the spring visit is this is going to be 400 laps, 200 miles, 40 cars on the starting grid. There you can see the breakdown. And we set a new lap record here in qualifying. Glenn Allen Jr. on the pole at 110 miles an hour, just under 111. So that is the way the race looks as we get set to go here. And to do just exactly that, we're going to go once again back down to the starting grid. He'll be in the center of action all afternoon. Here's Ralph Shaheen once more.
Thanks, Brian. This is Doug Baylock. Now, Doug is the corporate buyer for Murray's Discount Autos. How about if you get us underway today?
Drivers, start your engines. We fired them up here at Toledo Speedway, and we're fired up, getting set to bring you the race.
Just how long does a car battery last? About this much time is put into most batteries. But AC-Delco puts in more time, so our batteries last over 20% longer. Well, now there's the new Delco Freedom 84, our longest-lasting battery ever. We put in 7 years of guaranteed starts, making it the granddaddy of all batteries.
Hey, my watch!
Wynn's Extend Supreme Plus is a patented oil supplement especially formulated for today's high-tech engines. Extend helps increase oil life, combats engine wear, and reduces oil oxidation. So next time and every time you have your oil changed, ask for Extend, the supplement that will not void manufacturer's warranties and comes with its own 100,000-mile warranty. Extend Supreme Plus, a Wynn Oil Company product since 1939. Available at your quality service facility, including Firestone, Goodyear, and Grease Monkeys.
The AC-Delco Challenge Series presents the Toledo 400 on Prime. Brought to you in part by Wynn Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. By Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires. And by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. Cars are circling the track here in anticipation of the green flag of the Toledo 400 here at Toledo Speedway, a place that, as we said at the very top of the show, anything can happen and often does. They're being signaled around the track, waving to the crowd. This is the wave lap that, of course, goes along with the whole philosophy of the American Speed Association to give a little something back to the fans. Without them, none of us would be here, of course. And a lot of the fans were down on the racetrack for an autograph signing session. Each and every one of the race car drivers standing by his car prior to the start of this race. Let's take a look at the starting grid for the Toledo 400 here. Glenn Allen Jr. on the pole alongside the Bluebird, Bob Seneker. Then, as you mentioned, 2nd through 7th on the grid are the guys in the points chase.
Scott Hansen and Tony Raines go in the 2nd row. In row number 3, Mike Miller and Brad Loney. It seems like they've been side by side all year long.
Yeah, in more ways than one. Gary St. Amand in the number 7 machine, and rookie contender early this season, J.D. Summers, who has fallen back a bit in that rookie points chase.
The pleasant surprise of qualifying, rookie driver Brandon Sperling puts the Ultra Custom Wheels Baja Chevrolet on the inside of row number 5, along with hard luck driver Tony Roper, row 6, Jay Sauter, and another rookie, Ted Smokestat. A great qualifying effort.
His best for the year for Smokestat. Then back on row 13, a new face, Dennis Berry. We've got some of the guys who race often here at Toledo in the field, and we'll see quite a few of them in the starting field today. And they're back on row number 8 alongside one another. Points leader Brian Reffner and 7-time ASA champion Mike Eddy, currently 3rd in points.
On the inside of row number 9 is Joe Knott. On the outside, Bill Baird nursing some sore ribs. Apparently was thrown off a horse, and he owns a MiG jet, and he rides a horse, and he goes ASA racing. What does he do for thrills? The 10th row, Todd Forbes on the inside, and making his first ASA start, Michigan short track veteran Freddie Campbell.
Fast Freddie Campbell, they call him. Dave Sensiba in the Western Michigan Chevy Dealers Lane Automotive entry there alongside Kent Stauffer. Then Rick Beebe, the rookie points contender here with a brand new crew chief today. And Harold Fair back on row number 12.
In the 13th row on the inside, Carl James in the Carbright Odessa Chevrolet. Sitting beside him, Rick Miller, 2nd in rookie points. The 14th row, Tom Jones and open wheel veteran Kenny Irwin, who looks like he may be poised to run for Rookie of the Year in 1996.
Dr. Yale Conley, and he's got a big contingent of Simonton Windows folks here. You sell a window, you get a ticket and a t-shirt to come to an ASA race. Ed Cooper's there. Alec Pinsino joins teammate Harold Fair, and Matt Hunter in the 05 car on row 16.
Running, in fact, as a teammate to Glenn Allen Jr. In the 17th row, a guy who struggled to make the field several times this season, made it in with a great run in the qualifying race yesterday, Donnie Varco. Jay Sauter's younger brother Tim, outside row 17, the 18th row, rookie drivers Eddie Sharp and Pat Bordeaux.
And rounding out the field, Dave Kuhlman in the American Gear Thunderbird. Gary Grubbs also here, and he's driving a Chevrolet. Brett Bell is in the familiar number 56, and Cindy Peterson back behind the wheel of her own car after a tough run in the last chance race yesterday.
Well, the leaves have begun to change color, and that means they also blow off the trees, and the cars will all be brought to a stop here on the main stretch and give a crew member, one from each car, an opportunity to clear the grill work area. Of course, the temperature of these race cars is very sensitive, and that's the reason the cars are momentarily being brought to a stop. And that could play a factor in this race today should those leaves continue to fall and clog up a grill.
Some of the crew guys that thought they might have got out of raking leaves, well, guess what? Here's some of the drivers that did not make the field for the Toledo 400 here today.
Rod Wheeler, Tim Kesman, Tom Harrington, Bob Dorstwitz, all involved in the last chance qualifying race yesterday, which was a wild one, and many of these cars were in fact involved in on-track incidents during that 15-race event. David Anspaugh, the racing school principal, Billy Turner, and rookie driver Jeff Finley, who was to be a third teammate to Glenn Allen Jr. and Matt Hutter. Unfortunately, Jeff crashed and was not able to make the show.
Well, you can see some of the crew members scattering away from the starting grid after having done their cleanup job. There's a look into the newly cleaned grill. Down there on the starting field, number 31, rookie driver Rick Miller. Let's go down once again to Ralph Shaheen with a little bit more on just what's going on.
Well, they're all done down here now, Brian. It's about 190 degrees is where one of these ASA 9-to-1 V6 motors runs at optimum temperature as far as the water in the motor. Anything over 230 is when you get into the danger zone. Looks like Todd Forbes having a little problem getting his Noah Yoder back Maisto entry back underway. He seems to have come to a stop here in the middle with Dave Sensiba just behind him. But anything over 230, and you got big problems as far as the car is concerned. So you get those leaves in there, and that temperature gauge starts to climb. Now we're watching to see what they do. Todd Forbes' car, they're going to give him a push here and see if he can get it bump started. And they're going to wave everybody else by, and she's turning over, but she doesn't want to seem to take yet. There she goes.
Boy, that's good news for Todd Forbes, because he had a new sponsor, the Stark Heating and Air Conditioning people on that car route for the first time here today, so I'm sure he's glad he found the fire in car number 07.
And a good thing that he stalled out there on the starting line just as they were getting ready to get the race back underway. So the field will reform behind the pace car. There's another look at Todd Forbes' machine there. Noah Yoder Ford Maisto Stark Incorporated Thunderbird apparently is going to make the race.
Some real surprises in qualifying as we've already run through the grid. Brandon Sperling, Tony Roper, and Ted Smokestat way near the front. And Brian Refner, Mike Eddy not qualifying especially well. Do you think that's significant here at Toledo?
Well, apparently just a quick little word, especially on Mike Eddy, and he was the one that claimed that his problem in qualifying was due to exactly one thing, himself.
Yeah.
Apparently he just had a little trouble getting into 3, and then he had to get into it too early going into 4 and lift to avoid hitting the wall, and just didn't have the line around the racetrack organized there during qualifying. That was his problem. For Refner, apparently, and you would know more about this, we just heard he just was having a little bit of trouble getting around out there. I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Well, we talked about one championship not yet resolved. That is the driver's points, but the Manufacturers' Cup, I think, is a foregone conclusion. Pontiac in the able hands of Mike Eddy and Glenn Allen Jr., the two strongest drivers, have that one. We talked about the wind. What the heck are we looking at?
Well, we got a half a tree down at turn 2 over there, and the safety crew doing a little bit of creative pruning, apparently, to shove that tree back over behind the wall. So, well, uncanny things. Is this a portent of things to come here? I don't know. I felt like when I got up this morning that we were in for a wild affair here at Toledo, and I don't think it had anything more to do with facts than just the one fact that every time we come here, it's a wild and crazy affair. I mean, the very first race of 1994, a lot of the footage in our opening tease there was from that pretty wild race, and we're anticipating of action here at Toledo Speedway. We hope to get it underway for you shortly.
I've played a lot of great courses in my life, and I'd like to think I've designed a few, but I've never played a golf course quite like this. Golf Magazine has introduced a 30-page monthly section called The Golf Course, a unique 18-hole editorial format that delivers more instruction, more features, more of everything. Reading Golf Magazine is like teeing off on a brand new course every month. That's why I joined Golf Magazine as special contributor.
You can join Golf Magazine too for custom-tailored private lessons to help you score better. Call now and get absolutely free Jack's video playing the percentages, an insider's guide to improving your game and managing the course for lower scores and more fun. Call now for a great deal on Golf Magazine and your free video. Jack, it's great to have you on the Golf Magazine team. Where should we look for you in upcoming issues?
Where else? The golf course.
Double the speed, double the power, double the action. In a big racing doubleheader. Racing so nice, we're going to give it to you twice. The UAW GM 500 and Sportsman 100 this week on this regional sports network.
We're back at Toledo Speedway, and we're anticipating lights out on the pace car, which will mean one lap to green. Let's see if we get it. Yes, lights out on the pace car. We're going to be racing here in another half a mile as the field of 40 cars circles the track. There's Roger Slack holding the green flag, threatening them with it as he waves them underneath the flag stand.
Boy, the start of this race should be something. Not just at the front. I think we may see a little more calm nerves in the hands of Glenn Allen Jr. and Bob Seneca in the front row than some of the drivers deep in the field, including Brian Refter and Mike Eddy. We'll be keeping an early race watch on those two guys battling up through some rookies who's starting in front of them here this afternoon.
As the speed picks up behind pole sitter Glenn Allen Jr., of course, uppermost in his mind is going to be to lead this first lap and pick up another 5 points on his chase and try to remain secure in second position. So he's edged around in front of Bob Seneca now. If he can hold on for a couple more turns, he'll pick up 5 more points, and that'll tighten up the points chase even more. It is just that close. It's so important here with 2 races to go for a driver just to lead a lap to get 5 points.
Last night there was a 100-lap late model race here. We saw that the fast way around early was at the bottom of the racetrack. We see most drivers have dropped into single file except Mike Miller and Brad Loney. Loney battling on the high side in car number 33, but you just can't make the outside work that well this early, Brian. He's going backwards at least a spot.
And he looks like he's about to lose a position there to the number 22 car. And J.D. Summers, a very fast rookie driver, trying to edge Brad Loney out of that position behind Mike Miller's 18 car.
And I think Brad now, yes, he does. Maybe, I was going to say he's going to settle in behind J.D. Summers, but he still runs that high groove in car number 33. So Brad Loney battling to try to get to the front. Now he settles in, and everybody is pretty much single file as we've completed 3 laps.
Up front, it's still Glenn Allen Jr., and he's actually opened up some real estate between himself, Bob Seneca, and Scott Hansen, the second and third place running cars right now. Talking about that sealer that they put up on the racetrack, some of the drivers said the stuff is pretty sticky, but then they noticed that once they did get up under there, up in that high part of the racetrack where they sprayed that treatment on, that the tail end of the car would try to go away. So I think people are tiptoeing around a little bit up there. We're looking at the 05 car going down into the pit, onto pit road.
It's Matt Hutter running today as a teammate to Glenn Allen Jr. So there it is, a car painted identically, the Eaglewood Construction CarQuest machine. And it looks like we've got all kinds of action through turns 3 and 4. And Glenn Allen is off the pace in car number 15.
Well, could it be contagious? Eaglewood Construction cars both, one in the pits, the other one dropping back like wildfire there. Bob Seneca has taken over the lead. There is Glenn Allen caught in a revolving door. Something very obviously wrong with that race car.
And the yellow is out. This is exactly what Glenn needs. The way he's driving around, and it looks like one of the machines has come to a stop down in turn number 4.
Ed Cooper. Let's go quickly down to Ralph Shaheen.
Let's see if we get a word here with Glenn Allen Sr. Glenn, what's the matter with the car?
The distributor.
He's talking to him right now.
The distributor. He's saying that the distributor or something, he thinks, broke a rotor button or something.
All right, so they're going to bring him in right now and see if they can't get a look at it. Maybe they can get something fixed. It looked like the team car of Matt Hutter was having a problem with tires, like maybe he just had a bad set of tires. They had changed right side tires, and you know as well as I do, Rob, at a place like this, boy, you got to have your handling right. So if one side of the tires is off, that can really upset the balance of the car. So he might be all right. Now the big concern is with Glenn Allen Jr., and I'm kind of surprised that he hasn't come in yet. I guess they're just waiting for the pit road to open up.
And he is now, Ralph, he's made his way alongside Bob Seneca. After dropping back, he has to get right up even with the pace car to give them the maximum amount of time that they can have. It just doesn't take very long to get around a half-mile racetrack under the caution. What he does not want to do is go down a lap this early. They'll check. I thought maybe the way he was slowing down, it might have been something as simple as a plug wire, but obviously if he's telling his dad that it may be a rotor button, that means that the power is on and then off. It isn't like he's just down a cylinder. He's got something maybe more significantly wrong. Could have been in an ignition box. They're going to take a look and see if they can't figure it out.
The crew of Glenn Allen Jr., pole sitter for this Toledo 400, goes to work under the hood while the rest of the field circles the track. We're getting a signal that it'll be 1 lap to green, so the frantic pace of activity down there in the pit of Glenn Allen Jr. is no doubt going to increase significantly here in just a matter of seconds as the pace car comes past the entrance, or the exit, I should say, to pit road. They push him back out on the racetrack. He beats the car out, so he'll go to the tail end of the field and not lose a lap, but he has certainly lost a lot of position on the track. And you were listening to the cars that went by. Did they get it?
It did not sound good at all as he came off pit road and down into turn number 4. He needed another couple of laps. Ralph, can you tell us anything more?
Well, they looked at it, Rob, and I talked to Glenn Allen Sr. He said they didn't see anything. They checked all the areas where there could be any potential electrical problems, and they didn't seem to find anything. They were going to maybe bring him back in. They got him out. I'm looking to see, no, he's not going to dive back in. So he's decided to stay out on the racetrack, and you know, sometimes you get one of these gremlins in there and you just can't find it.
Electrical problems are among the most difficult to diagnose, and you know why? Because those darn electrons are so small that you can just about barely see them. And I mean, you got trouble trying to track those critters down.
Never made the connection. Bob Seneca has inherited the lead in car number 84, but he's getting some pressure from Scott Hansen.
He's got a bumper full of pressure from the 53 car. But he holds on to maintain the lead. Tony Raines pushing hard in third. Mike Miller in fourth. They've all moved up a spot because pole sitter and early leader Glenn Allen Jr. is at the tail end of the field.
You know, we were talking about the manufacturers. Scott Hansen has spent most of this season driving a Ford, but he's the only driver that's in the ASA Racing Series that picks his brand of race car depending upon the racetrack configuration. I think it's more a matter of the engine response of a Ford versus a Chevrolet. On a track like Toledo, he thinks the Chevy has just a little bit more for him, so he's behind the wheel of a Monte Carlo, and obviously he's made the right decision today.
Bob Seneca holding on to the lead in spite of the best efforts of Scott Hansen in his Ford Thunderbird to take it away. Tony Raines just poised back there in third spot. Everybody pretty much single file. Glenn Allen Jr.'s car and that of his teammate, the 05 machine of Matt Hutter, circling at the very back, and little Glenn's car does not sound good.
As we watch the front foursome, Bob Seneca, Scott Hansen, Tony Raines, and Mike Miller, I've been impressed at just how well the rookies have held their ground and kept things clean and mean at the beginning of this race. I had some great fear that we'd see a crash the first couple of laps of this race, and that has not eventuated. So even the guys that started as rookies at the beginning of 1995 showing a lot of maturity as we wind the season down.
Don't even say crash. Where's Mike Eddy, you might ask? There he is, black number 88 GM Goodwrench Pontiac. And he is doing battle there with Glenn Galt. Galt on the outside. Mike Eddy stuck down low, right where he needs to be, as you said, Rob. Apparently that low line's the one that's working, certainly in the apexes of the turn.
And that is 12th and 13th positions. Glenn Galt and Mike Eddy right behind Mike is our points leader, Brian Refner. He's just kind of sitting back there, and I think he'll take his cue from what Mike does.
Eddy working on Galt, trying to find a way around. He shows him a little bit of low side and then runs up high. And Refner just sitting there watching a good race going on, watching the master at work. Mike Eddy trying to pick up another spot on the racetrack. Up front, you got a couple of masters working at it. Bob Seneca, of course, the winningest driver in the history of the American Speed Association, and Scott Hansen, whose record is quite enviable as well. These two guys doing a good job up front there of making an exciting race. They're starting to come up on the tail end of the field, and that'll make things even more interesting.
And the guy that they're closing on is Glenn Allen's Pontiac, the purple car number 15, as it continues to sputter, crackle, and pop as he comes off turn number 4. And it looks like his championship chances may be going away right here as they easily best him. And now we're looking back in the field. There's Mike Eddy. He has disposed of Glenn Galt. He's now closing up on the number 75 of Dennis Berry, but we've had a change up front.
Scott Hansen takes the lead away, using some of that lap traffic perhaps as a pick. He found a better way to get past a couple of race cars there, and once he did get past Bob Seneca apparently had a little bit more difficulty getting through the traffic. And now Hansen has run off with about an 8 or 9 car length lead as he will come around to lead his first lap of this race.
This has been a feast or famine kind of racetrack for Scott Hansen. And as I say that, we watched him go into turn number 1. A lot of smoke from the tail end of that white Chevy Monte Carlo. It seems like he has either won here or he's crashed hard. Now we're going to take a look again as he comes by and see if we can determine whether or not he's got a tire rubbing or it might be something more significant. We've got a problem down in turn number 2.
We're going to go down to Ralph Shaheen real quick, who's got the word on the tire while we've got cars all over the racetrack. Ralph?
Well, we've got a big problem with Hanson's car, and it looked to me like it was bodywork rubbing on the car. They're getting set to bring him in, and we'll see what the situation is when they get a chance to take a look at it.
Scott Hansen circling the track. There is the number 56 car of Brett Bell. We also saw the 40 of Kenny Irwin Jr. We'll sort it all out after the break. Give you a chance to pause for some refreshment. And we'll see you here in Toledo. Trust us. We'll be around.
AC-Delco knows that as a car gets older, its engine runs rougher. So we developed a spark plug to help bring back new car feel, and things really gelled. Introducing Rapid Fire from AC-Delco. It makes an engine idle up to 27% smoother and accelerate with up to 18% quicker throttle response. New Rapid Fire. Its performance ought to have the competition shaking.
It's not about winning the most races. I tried that 2 years in a row. You just got to surround yourself with the best people, the best car, and Goodyear Eagles, the best tires in the world. Then you just got to go out and finish every single race.
Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
Goodyear Eagles and 31 top 5 finishes. Yeah, that ought to do it.
Under caution here at Toledo Speedway, Bob Seneker has resumed the lead because Scott Hansen is down in the pits, and so is Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Hansen has just left the pits, and he's going to come back. You can see the oil on the ground right here in front of us. That's the problem for Scott Hansen. Lots of oil. It was all over the inside of the hood, and it was smoking and billowing up all over. The crew took a quick look. They weren't able to fix anything, but he's going to be diving back into the pits. Well, actually, he decided to stay back out. So a unique development there. It didn't look like they really got anything fixed, but that is the problem. It was an oil leak inside the engine bay.
Well, again, doesn't sound like they've determined that it was, in fact, just a valve cover gasket. I think that might have been wishful thinking as Scott comes back on pit road, as does Glenn Allen Jr. Now, Scott is going behind the wall, and that means that he's planning on being in for some time as they'll try to make repairs on that car number 53.
Well, and also, if he's leaking oil out to the extent that we saw there with that shot from Ralph, he doesn't want to be out there on the racetrack laying it down for everybody else to run in. So, well, he found a nice spot to park there alongside the pickup truck. Good job.
That looks pretty final, doesn't it, for Scott Hansen?
He's parking in the grass there.
Interesting thing up front now with Mike Miller inheriting second position. You made a point during the break, and I think you're exactly right. Guys that build their own cars from the ground up. Well, Ralph has got something further on Scott Hansen, and he's trudging across the infield to Tony Raines' machine. He's got trouble as well, Ralph.
Well, apparently for Hansen, it was the fitting on the intake. There was a gasket in there that was a problem with that, and that's where all the oil was coming from. For Raines, it looks like a much bigger problem in the rear end section. We'll have an update for you on that in just a second.
We have guys up very high in the point standings, and you know they've checked every nut, every bolt, every conceivable possible problem that they could think of again and again and again. And here just 28 laps into a 400-lap race, 3 of the top 10 drivers in points already with major problems.
Glenn Allen Jr. just caught a quick glimpse of him diving out in front of the pace car. He's gone down at least one lap. Hopefully they have found the problem under the hood of the 15 car, the Eaglewood Construction Pontiac of pole sitter Glenn Allen. We're getting ready to go back to green. And yes, we did talk just briefly about it during the break, that Bob Seneker and Mike Miller both build their cars from the ground up. You talk about guys that know every nut and bolt. They design them, they build them. They do not take pre-built chassis and add clips to the front and back and all that. They actually have constructed, fabricated their cars from scratch, from tubing, and they are the two guys running up front right now, 31 laps into this 400-lap race. I said we were in for a wild affair, maybe even a little bit weird, and well, I got you got to remember Halloween's not too far off. Maybe that's why.
Well, one of the big Halloween surprises, perhaps, is the car in third position. You can see him right there, the red and yellow machine right behind Mike Miller. That's J.D. Summers in the JS Racing Summers Marine Ford Thunderbird. Ralph, what is the problem for Raines?
Well, they're working on the rear end of the car. Tony, what happened to your entry?
Well, we got a rear end scripter busted or something. We're trying to fix it.
Howie Lenow and the boys working on the back side of the car. They're changing everything back there. As soon as they get it all fixed up, they get the 87 back out.
Well, Tony hoping to run well today. The Mex America folks and their chip people were on hand here this afternoon, the new sponsorship deal there, and he wanted a good performance. Obviously, you could hear the disappointment in his voice. I'm sure a lot of it is the fact that he wanted to have a better showing for his new sponsor.
The Mex America Clean Burn Pontiac up on the jacks down on pit road, and there you see the top 3 running cars, actually the front 4 running cars on your screen as we ran them down for you. Bob Senecker in the blue number 84, the Johnsonville Sausage entry there that sat outside of front row, Johnsonville Foods Lane Automotive Ford Thunderbird. Mike Eddy on the move up through the field. What else would you expect? And until somebody waves the checkered flag at Jennerstown, this guy's not going to give up the chance of an 8th championship.
Well, if you remember the last time we watched Mike Eddy, he was directly in front of points leader Brian Repner. Under the most recent caution, Repner, with no apparent problem, came on pit road, so he's back near the tail of the field. Mike, meanwhile, has just sat out there past a few cars and inherited other positions. He's now moving into 7th position around the number 51 machine of rookie Brandon Sperling. Now he'll set sail for another black car. That's the number 1 of Jay Sauter.
Mike Eddy, Brandon Sperling. Brandon Sperling, of course, way up in qualifying. They're qualified 9th, while Mike Eddy was 16th on the starting grid. So now you can see how many positions Mike Eddy has moved up. He's going after Jay Sauter in the Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Oil Pontiac just ahead of him. There he is. And back up front, good close racing by Bob Senecker, Mike Miller, 2 great veteran drivers. Miller qualified on the pole here at Toledo in the spring, went on to finish 2nd in that race. Bob Senecker, the winningest driver, and has earned a lot of pole positions, of course, this year, sat outside the front row for this one.
Running in 4th position is Brad Loney's car number 33, right behind this threesome. There you can see him just coming into frame. And Gary St. Amant back there in the Wins Ford in 5th spot. But the great battle is the top 3 between Bob Senecker, Mike Miller, who's challenging, and rookie J.D. Summers.
Mike Eddy just went past Jay Sauter, no problem. And he has gained yet another position now, so he's up to 7th on the racetrack, I do believe. And it won't be long before he'll be in the picture among the leaders in just a moment.
And we kind of wondered about his qualifying effort yesterday. It often seems that the worse he qualifies, the better he races. But Toledo is not a place that you want to have a particularly bad qualifying run. It has not negatively affected him thus far.
Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen once more.
Tony Roper's taking the steering wheel off. Tony, what happened to your car?
We blew a motor and got a lot of leaves on the front and got hot. Instead of running, we come in and took them out and took back off and started seizing up. You know, it's a real shame. We had a good race car today. We were just riding around there like they always say, you know. But you know, we'll get them again next time. This is a down, but a lot of good ups coming.
Boy, it doesn't take a lot of leaves to cause you a problem either, does it?
No, it sure doesn't. You know, we were running about 210 racing. We come in there and it got to 240 and pegged the gauge and started spitting water, and you know, we went back out, it got better, and then it got worse. We had to pull it in.
Tony Roper, done for the day.
Bob Senecker still leads, but J.D. Summers has taken over the 2nd spot ahead of Mike Miller. Summers working on the back of the 18 car. Mike Miller's entry here, the Funcoland Kings Control Pontiac slipped back to 3rd, and they're working around traffic. Brad Loney still sitting in 4th spot. Bob Senecker leads. Rookie J.D. Summers is 2nd. We'll be back to Toledo in a moment.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was hosting my first big business dinner, and I paid with my Visa card. Turns out I was over my limit. I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to do. So I got the American Express card, and it never happened again.
Call 1-800-THE-CARD. We can take your application right over the phone.
Applying for the card was one of the easiest things I've ever done, and smartest. And anyone who's ever gone anywhere knows it. I have a place to cash checks, get my mail, and get help when I need it.
My dad said the minute you get a job, get an American Express card. He said, trust me on this one. I've gone everywhere with it. And here's a tip. Sign up for membership miles, and everything you charge on the card will earn you program miles, so you can keep on traveling.
So call now for the American Express card. You can apply right over the phone.
It's really worth it.
It helped not having a preset limit.
I got cash on the go.
I can call 24 hours a day. That helps.
Go anywhere, and it's with you all the way.
Don't delay. Just dial 1-800-THE-CARD.
Harvey Penick was perhaps golf's greatest teacher. To share in his legacy, call 1-800-985-8080 and order the Little Green Video. Featuring 1992 U.S. Open champion Tom Kite and two-time Masters champion Ben Crenshaw, the Little Green Video contains more than 70 minutes of lessons, stories, tips, and drills. Rated 4 stars by Golf Magazine, the Little Green Video gives you instant access to the secrets that have helped thousands play their best. Call 1-800-985-8080. Order the Little Green Video today.
Welcome back to Toledo, and a new leader on the racetrack right now. J.D. Summers and Mike Miller and Brad Loney and Mike Eddy have all gotten past Bob Seneker, who was leading this race when we left you a few moments ago. So something is very definitely amiss with the number 84 car, and rookie J.D. Summers has taken on the point right now.
You know, I'm not really sure anything's wrong with Bob Seneker's car. Summers shuffled into the high side as they went around lap traffic, and everybody else just kind of sucked underneath. And I think Bob may be just saying, hey, it's still really early, everything's okay. The guy that's not seeming to go anywhere, Brian Reffner, mired back in 19th position. Ralph Sheen's with his crew chief. Ralph, is there something we need to know up here?
Well, let's find out. Les Bach is his crew chief. Les, what's wrong with your car? Well, we had to pit there because we were overheating. We picked up a lot of leaves on the radiator. We got that cleared up, and temperature came down now, so that's fine. Car's a little bit tight, but we started to race out a little on the tight side because in the past it's tended to loosen up here at this track for us, so I think we'll be okay if this thing goes for a few laps.
Well, now, you can't wait too long to get back up into the thick of this thing. Is he in full charge mode now?
Is he what?
Is he in a full charge mode to get back to the front now?
Well, you know, pretty much. I mean, he's going to be a little cautious, you know, with some of these cars so he doesn't get in trouble, but we're going to try to work our way back up to the front.
Sitting that far back, Rob and Brian, he can't wait too long.
I'd like to...
A couple of cars in the wall right now, and that's going to bring out a caution flag. There's the 36 car of Cindy Peterson, the Victor Reynez Gaskets NVR Racing Chevrolet. And along with that, she has collected the number 26 car of Bill Baird. Ouch, that's got to hurt. He's already a little sore, and now he's probably feeling a little bit more pain and trouble out there as he's trying to push Cindy's car around to get his own car off the racetrack.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't see the incident, but Bill was having a good run. He was in the top 15 and staying out of trouble, and he finds trouble.
Well, Bill Baird's got his car moving again. Cindy Peterson also trying to get moving. We will return here to Toledo while they sort it all out under caution and resume.
Just a reminder, when you need them, we got them. Big A, America's Parts Pros.
Slick 50 protects the vital moving parts of your engine for up to 50,000 miles. Slick 50 starting your engine without it is a terrible thing to do.
Prime, serving America's great sports networks.
Memphis, California Gold, the finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restorers. Carnauba wax protects and shines. Easy to apply, looks great.
California Gold, there's no shine like Mother's.
Welcome to a new way to communicate. A new source of news, information, and software available through your computer 24 hours a day. This is the official America Online Tour.
Let me show you how America Online really works. You just point and click.
You've got mail.
Hey, I've got mail.
You can send and receive email even across the internet.
I've done that. Really?
Scan the latest headline. Browse Time Magazine. Find out what's on TV with ABC Online. Look up facts in Compton's Encyclopedia. You can even explore the Smithsonian right on your computer.
My son gets help with his homework.
Call now for your free trial. You'll get free software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. America Online. It's knowledge. It's powerful.
And?
Okay, it's fun.
Call now for a no-obligation free trial of America Online. You'll get free startup software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. Call now, 1-800-537-0300.
The AC-Delco Challenge Series, the premier short track racing series, has joined forces with Short Track Racing Magazine, the premier publication geared to short track racing fans. Give them a call for subscription information, 1-800-468-7876, Short Track Racing Magazine.
We'll take a peek at the number 26 machine of Bill Baird. There you can see a little worse for the wear. He had been running in 10th position in that automobile. And we've talked about Bill and the fact that he has some unusual hobbies, owns a MiG fighter plane, and sustained some rib injuries, I understand, this past week while riding on his horse. And we had a chance to watch him being taped up prior to the race. There's his bride and some of the folks on his crew. And that shot that he had there just a few minutes ago on the racetrack can't have helped. And you can see him grimacing in pain. We ran into him in the mall last night. He was walking around kind of gingerly.
Ready to leave. Now you can see Bill Baird's car is just leaving the pit area, Brian, and it looks like it's mostly just cosmetic damage to the car, but they're going to probably have to bring him back in again to fix it up because the front nose on the left side, just in front of the left wheel, is really dragging on the ground and is rubbing up against the tire. Not only does he have a couple of broken ribs, but he's got a bruised kidney as well. He said he was riding his horse, and the horse must have gotten bitten by a wasp or something and just threw him off. So he's got some acrylic padding behind him. He's got some padding inside his uniform. None of it seemed to be doing the work as he was real sore and getting into the car very gingerly earlier today.
As we continue under caution, did you know we have a brand new race fan, and he is the main reason that our producer, who has never missed an ASA televised race, is not with us today. We'd like to say hi to Joel McKee and his bride Kathy, and the newest ASA race fan, their new little one, Skylar. Hope you guys are having a great day. And the crowd says hi to Joel, Kathy, and Skylar.
A brand new human and a brand new ASA fan. All right, Skylar. Hang in there, buddy. We're going to be racing here in just a moment.
I'd also like to extend some get well wishes to Patricia Martindale, who's the mother of Rick Martindale, a real patron of ASA racing. She's a little bit under the weather. And we also would like to extend some condolences and prayers to the family of Dick Collier, who for years has been a fixture on the Bob Seneca crew. He passed away in the last couple of weeks, and our thoughts and prayers are with the Collier family.
Still circling under caution here as they attempt to get the racetrack back race ready, and some of the crews. There's that color-matched duct tape, as we so affectionately refer to, you know, this tape that they use here. And somebody obviously saw the need to create designer colors in duct tape for these various crews, and it's always fun to see when they use tape. It isn't that gray kind that we always get in the hardware store. They've got some that matches their car. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen once again.
Well, the number 34 car of Ed Cooper's been in the pits as well. Ed, what's wrong with your car? You've been sitting here a long time.
Our painted rod moved on us and it changed the roll set in the rear of the car, and she's rubbing her rear shock and smoking real bad. We had to get it fixed. We won't be able to compete.
Tough day for Ed Cooper in a brand new car. Also, Dave Sensiba's been in and out getting body work done on his car, as well as Todd Forbes.
Yeah, we noticed both of them came off the track after the incident involving Bill Baird and Cindy Peterson with some body damage. I don't know whether they were involved in that or not. Unfortunately, we all missed it, I guess. And there's Dave Sensiba's car number 4. And again, less what they refer to as the doghouse. That's the entire front body work on that Lane Automotive Western Michigan Chevy dealer Chevrolet.
Cosmetically disadvantaged?
Well, that's new. I'm waiting for you to, I mean, you started all these new terms at the beginning of the year. That's a new one.
No, I gave up on them. Everybody was telling me, you know, a joke works once. Aerodynamically challenged, but this is cosmetically disadvantaged, Dave Sensiba's car.
There's been some speculation about whether or not Dave might have a teammate in 1996. The story has been that maybe Kenny Irwin would move over from the midget ranks in USAC. He's had a great season this year, won a lot of races, and campaigned in that car full time, but that still remains to be seen. And earlier this year, we even threw out the rumor, and we were told it might be a possibility that Gordon Johncock would come out of retirement, the former IndyCar driver, and run some ASA shows. Nobody's yet denied that. So until they tell us it's a dead situation, we're going to keep the rumor mill bubbling. We've got some more in the rumor mill for you later on today.
Back to green after 65 laps into the race here with J.D. Summers running on the point. Well, not only is it close to Halloween, but the silly season is almost upon us here in ASA. And of course, everyone that's a fan of auto racing or motorsports of any kind knows exactly what the silly season means. Rumors are rampant. J.D. Summers driving on the front right now. He had taken over the lead, driving past Mike Miller. Mike Eddy sitting in third spot, Miller in second, and the rest of the field lined up behind him. Down to Ralph Shaheen now, who's with Cindy Peterson.
Cindy, what's the problem with your car?
get around the 34 car, and I looked up in the mirror and thought I had enough room, and I guess I pulled up right in front of Bill and took us both out.
Tough afternoon for Cindy Peterson. This is the car, by the way, that did catch fire at Kaukauna, and they burned out pretty much most of the rear section of the car, rebuilt it, and she's back here at Toledo.
I always find honesty refreshing, and there she took the responsibility for it. Obviously, we all make mistakes. She made one today, and that's one thing we will have to say about Cindy Peterson. We've not seen her make a lot of mistakes when she's been in an ASA event. We're going to go through there was the top three, as it continues to be J.D. Summers. We used to call him Jay Summers, but he said people would confuse him with Jay Sauter, so he prefers J.D. It sounds more formal. And Mike Miller in second. Then it's Mike Eddy and Bob Seneker. So we wondered whether or not Seneker had some problems. I don't really think so, because he's sitting right in the traditional Bob Seneker position, waiting for the guys in front of him to make the blunder.
Also, just talked to Cindy Peterson just prior to the start of the race. She had to come through that last chance qualifying, which was a nightmare, especially from her point of view. And I think she got into the field in 40th position on a provisional start and said, you know, there's just some people out there that just really aren't aware. They can't feel the other cars around them. And perhaps in her explanation of what happened, she didn't feel Bill Baird up beside her as she tried to get around the 34. Consequently, she's sitting in the pits. Bill's a little more sore than he was before, and none of them are in contention up front as these drivers are right here. J.D. Summers, Mike Miller, and Mike Eddy. Boy, that guy just won't lay down, Billy.
No, and I was kind of watching back through the field, and I did notice that Brian Refner's begun to pick up a few spots. This is the best racing. That's why we're continuing to focus on this. Several drivers came in under the most recent caution, including Brad Loney, Gary St. Amant, and several other lead lap drivers, and they're working their way now back up toward the front.
Let me ask you a question. Only 72 laps into 400. How excited do you get about an NBA championship game in the first quarter? So all this that's going on right here, I'm sure there's a lot going on that's kind of below the surface, and that will manifest itself much later in this race. So we too are just kind of in a wait-and-see attitude. I think some of the drivers might be doing exactly that. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen. He's with Bob Seneker's crew chief.
That would be Dan Crawford. Dan, there's some speculation from upstairs about how Bob is running. Is he okay, or is he just pacing himself?
I never heard a word of that.
Is Bob okay, or is he just pacing himself?
I know, some of the big guys fell out, so we're just going to take it easy. We're going to try and conserve all we got until the very end.
How long will you wait before you really start to charge?
Well, at least after 300. We're not worried about nothing until after 300.
So as long as they can keep the leaders in sight and stay on the lead lap, gentlemen, he might drift even farther back as long as he's at a comfortable pace.
You know, you look back through the records and you realize that Bob Seneker, though he's won more races than any driver in ASA history by a long shot, almost double his nearest rival, Mike Eddy and then Butch Miller. Yet you look at the laps led, and he's not in the top 3 or 4 in that category, especially if you look at the last decade. He's kind of changed his strategy there. You can see him still in 4th position in this race. That's just not his way to go about running. You know, Mike Eddy's a charge to the front, set it up, go as hard as you can, as long as you can, as he's now working on Mike Miller for 2nd position. And Seneker's always been the guy to sit back and let a race come to him. The longer the race is, the more it plays into the strategy and style of a driver like a Seneker.
The sneaker. That's why he got that nickname, I guess. He's just going to lay back there and see what happens. And again, using a professional sport analogy, you always hear about the 4th quarter, championship teams that are able to prevail in the 4th quarter. That's exactly what Bob Seneker's crew chief said. He's going to wait till after 300. That would be the 4th quarter.
Here's the 4th place car, the Johnsonville Foods Lane-Up Automotive Ford at Bob Seneker. Now I'll try to tell you who's behind them, but a good straightaway back. And 5th is Jay Sauter. Then it's Joe Knott 6th. 7th is Dennis Barry making his first ASA start. Tom Jones runs 8th. Rookie Rick Miller is 9th. Brian Refner is 10th. And Brad Loney has come back from 24th after the pit stops to run in 11th position.
The 4 leaders running pretty much alone on the racetrack. That won't last for long. They're about to get into traffic again, and of course things will get interesting.
It's taken Cal Ripken Jr. 13 grueling years to break Lou Gehrig's record. Now we are honoring this historic baseball event with this officially endorsed Cal Ripken Jr. 23-karat gold stamp wallet. Beautifully detailed but limited to only 2,131 of 15 sets worldwide. Each set comes safely protected in this handsome special collector's presentation wallet. The Cal Ripken Jr. official postage stamp, issued by the islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, comes with its own numbered certificate of authenticity and is extremely limited, so act quickly. You get the Cal Ripken Jr. gold stamp, the display wallet, and this paper stamp set on a cachet card canceled by the government on the very day Cal broke the record. You get all this for only $39.95. Here's how you can order.
To order, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-522-5333. That's 1-800-522-5333, or send check or money order for $39.95 plus $3.95 shipping to SSCA, P.O. Box 1809, Department A, Hicksville, New York.
The big boys can crank it. NHRA Racing brings you pedal to the metal, full throttle, start to finish excitement. It's pure power, baby. The U.S. Nationals from Indianapolis this week on this Regional Sports Network.
Welcome back to Toledo Speedway and live coverage here on Prime. Race leader J.D. Summers working his way into traffic. Right on his tail, the number 88 Goodwrench Pontiac of Mike Eddy. Then in third spot, it's Mike Miller, and you can see that they're working through lap traffic once again here. Kent Stauffer going another lap down on the leaders there. They'd already sailed through much of the field earlier. And J.D. Summers, very fast. He has been very fast all year long. Every time he's shown up at the racetrack, he's had a fast automobile, and he's driven it well. He's just not had good fortune. We've got an incident up in turn 4, and it almost involved Brian Refner. And, oh, hard on the brakes also comes around the 02 machine, but it's the 75 car of Dennis Berry that got sideways up there. Tim Sauter almost collected him there, hard on the brakes, locked them all up. But apparently Berry now back underway here with nothing more than a little bit of a heart-thumping moment, apparently.
And I know that car looks familiar to you. That's because Jeff Neal has been behind the wheel of the Hoffman machine all season long, but they parted company. It's Dennis Berry, who's expected to perhaps mount a campaign for Rookie of the Year next year, substituting here this weekend. Hoffman's plans, who really knows? But Dennis Berry was having a good run as he was being in the process of being passed for 7th position by Brad Loney in car number 33. Let's see if there's contact between them. If so, it was very gentle. And you can see that Berry's spinning, sliding sideways, no contact, and Loney gets by. There's Tom Jones. Now what does Brian Refner do? Squeezes in between himself and Tony Raines.
Down on pit road, Ralph Shaheen is with Pat Bordeaux.
Well, you can see all the smoke hissing up out of the front of the engine. Pat, what's wrong with the car?
Well, I'll tell you, the BASF Finish Master, Chevrolet, it was running all right. We started in the back, started moving up. I don't know if internally it started heating up or what. The guys are doing a great job. We're just an underfunded team, and we're looking for sponsorship. And it's one of them deals where if you can't afford to go buy the big dollar motors, sometimes you have problems.
Was it anything that might have been caused by the leaves out here today?
No, I don't think it was anything like that. I come in 2 or 3 times and cleaned the leaves off, so we was okay as far as that goes. There was leaves on there, but the car wasn't overheating as far as that goes. We'll be back.
Afternoon, done for the day.
Also in that time was J.D. Summers, the race leader. Of course, now he has relinquished that lead, and Mike Eddy has inherited it. Mike Eddy and Mike Miller and Bob Seneker, 3 of the great veteran drivers of the American Speed Association, now lined up 1, 2, 3. Let's go back and make that 4 because, well, no, that's Alec Pinson's car, the identical machine to that of Harold Fair. I was about to add Harold to the list of veteran drivers who are up front right now as we approach 100 laps in this 400-lap race at Toledo.
Joe Knott is actually in 4th position. We haven't even called his name this afternoon. He's just steadily moved up through the pack as cars have made pit stops. The front 4, I don't believe, Brian, any of them have yet been on pit road. The car behind Joe Knott is Brad Loney. He has made a pit stop, as have all the other lead lap cars. So only Mike Eddy, Mike Miller, Bob Seneker, and Joe Knott have yet to make that first stop as we're ready to go back to green.
Flagman Roger Slack waving the green flag. 92 laps in. We said we're getting close to 100 here. The first quarter is about to draw to a close. We've already had a full race worth of action here in the early going. There are a number of cars out of the race. Most notably, I think, Scott Hansen a number of cars that have been affected either by mechanical problems or on-track incidents, most notably Glenn Allen Jr., the pole sitter. And so right now, Mike Eddy, who had problems in qualifying that he attributed to nothing more than his own errors, is moved from his 16th position up to take the lead here for Mike Miller.
Pontiac, Ford, running 1, 2, 3, 4. And the guy who's PR man bills him as the fastest Chevy in ASA, Brad Loney, runs in 5th position, and he is the highest-ranked Chevy in the point standings. But Mike Miller is not going to be content to sit back in 2nd position. Any track we go to that requires a car to work on the bottom, that's where Mike Miller is strong. Now, we've got a guy that is really having a great run. There he is, car number 50, started way back in 35th position from Concord, North Carolina, the Sharp Racing Ford of Eddie Sharp. He came to ASA Racing at the suggestion of his friend Johnny Benson, thinking he had a big dollar sponsor for this year. It has not materialized. They've run on a very thin budget. He's had a lot of trouble this year mechanically. Started 35th, and Brian, he is up to 8th position in car number 50. By far his best run, and right in front of him, you can see the number 32, and that is Ted Smokestat, another rookie, also having a great run in his Super America Johnsonville Chevrolet. So these rookies doing quite well at Toledo today.
All right, you brought up Johnny Benson real quick. I came here expecting to see Johnny driving, and of course, all the releases that we got said he would be among the starters here in Toledo. What's up?
Well, he did expect to be here. He wanted to be here, but was called on to run a super truck at North Wilkesboro because he's going to run Winston Cup next year. And his new car owner, who has yet not formally been announced, so just about everybody knows, said he really wanted him to be at North Wilkesboro to get some experience before going Winston Cup racing next year.
Now you also mentioned Joe Knott, so just like that, Ralph Shaheen is down there with Chris Bradley, the crew chief.
Well, Chris even used to be the crew chief for Johnny Benson. Hey, you got this kid running pretty good out here today. What's going on with the car?
The car's pretty good. We'll probably make a little bit of an adjustment on our first pit, but the Valvoline Ford's running real well.
Gentlemen, I think what we're really seeing here, not to take anything away from Chris Bradley, but I think we're also seeing a lot of the maturity of Joey Knott that has taken place over the last couple of years. 3 years in a row, I believe it is, Robbie has been voted most improved driver in ASA, which is hard to imagine, but that's just how much he has improved each year, and I think he's on the verge, and maybe he could be here today. His first ever AC-Delco Challenge Series win.
When you wonder how a guy can be, most improved several seasons in succession, it's really easy. When young Joe Knott came to ASA 4 seasons ago as a teenager, he was absolutely as green as grass. He had no late model experience. He never run at anything close to this level. He just kind of run the entry-level type race cars. A lot of folks said maybe that he came too quickly to ASA, but we have just seen marked improvement in him. And I think what the quantum leap this year is Chris Bradley. And not even so much Chris's knowledge, but I think a big thing has been Chris has been a very settling influence for Joe.
Among the leaders right now, Mike Eddy has outdistanced Mike Miller in second spot. There you see him, and you'll see him when we come back.
Think about your commitment, academically as well. Think about the love you've shown your parents.
Coach Holtz is considered to be one of the best coaches and motivators ever in the game of football. Join Lou Holtz and the Notre Dame football staff as they teach young football players in the Lou Holtz Football Camp video. Learn all the offensive and defensive techniques and philosophies necessary to be a champion on the field and in life.
You're here, you're a football player, you do the best you can to the best of your ability at all times. I have no doubt in my mind, if you take the fundamental principles that are applied in this video and transform them onto the football field, you will be ultra successful.
Order now. Call 1-800-263-4411. Order the Lou Holtz Football Camp video for $29.95 and get the Football Camp ball cap with Notre Dame logo absolutely free. Be a winner. Call now.
Your friend.
My friend?
Yeah, the one that you said that you asked if she could say hi. Everything I get, he tries to sell,
Oh, no.
Oh, what a cute dog. You like it?
Anybody hear from Bill? He called Tuesday and said he couldn't decide whether he should buy or rent.
Little dog. Literally, the dog is winding around and around her legs. Like, great dog.
In the wall just moments ago, the number 8 machine, the ASA Chevrolet entry, going up into the wall there in turn number 1, as we were about to very comfortably tell you that Mike Eddy was still leading and nothing had happened. Carl James brings out a caution here. 109 laps to go. He's climbing out of the car and is obviously okay. Now, a caution flag here just as we enter the second quarter, you might say, of this 400-lap race. Here is what happened.
See if we can take a peek. It might have been some contact with Rick Beebe. That's just conjecture. You can see he's banged the wall. I think maybe swapped ends and hit it with both the front and the back of car number 8. And Carl obviously disenchanted, and he's one of the drivers. You can see the fluid pouring from out of the rear end of that race car, and from our vantage point, and we're looking at the monitor just as you're looking at your screen, it looks like fuel coming out of the rear end. So he might have broken a fitting to the fuel cell of that race car.
Well, that'll probably result in a fairly extended caution. Well, not extended, but the fact that that fuel is so volatile, it'll dry very quickly. And of course, the track crew, the safety crew will go out there. That's another look at the front end of Dave Sensiba's car. And he's got all the the ductwork leading to the radiator dragging on the racetrack. I would bet his car is overheating pretty seriously. The leaders, especially Mike Eddy and Mike Miller, who we mentioned, and Bob Seneker, who had not yet pitted, appear as though they are coming in, and Ralph Shaheen is down in the pit of 88.
Mike Eddy's coming in, Bob Seneker is in, Joey Knott's in, Mike Miller's in, everybody taking the opportunity to pit here. Now Mike's car comes down off the jack, they get it started again. They will change right side tires. Remember, in ASA competition, you can only change 2 tires under yellow. They get the leads taken off. A beautiful pit stop for Mike Eddy. Mike Miller follows him back out, and they're all headed back out onto the racetrack. And it looks like they have beaten Bob Seneker out as well, so they will start just the way they came in. Also, Todd Forbes pitted once again. He broke the power steering belt, so the crew is working on the Maisto back entry now to get him back into competition. Tony Raines has gotten the rear end changed. He is back out on the racetrack and should be coming in momentarily for another pit stop.
That will shake things up front, as some of the drivers didn't come on pit road, Brian.
The leaders are still the same relative to one another.
Wynn's Extend Supreme Plus is a patented oil supplement especially formulated for today's high-tech engines. Extend helps increase oil life, combats engine wear, and reduces oil oxidation. So next time and every time you have your oil changed, ask for Extend, the supplement that will not void manufacturer's warranties and comes with its own 100,000-mile warranty. Extend Supreme Plus, a Wynn Oil Company product since 1939. Available at your quality service facility, including Firestone, Goodyear, and Grease Monkeys.
If you settle for a remanufactured engine without a brand name, be sure you've got a pair of name brand shoes. AC-Delco engines, the national brand name with the nationwide warranty. Call for a location near you. Of course, if you come in on foot, we'll understand.
There's one way to win the Napa 500, and then there's another. At Napa's Pick the Winner sale, where you can register for a chance to win the Napa 500 pace car. While you're here, pick up some great parts and accessories at low prices, like Autolite spark plugs, just 49 cents, and Napa halogen headlights as low as $4.99. The Pick the Winner sale, going on now at Napa.
We keep America running. We keep America running.
You got game? Think so? Then grab the rock and hoop it up. Take it to the rack for the best brand of b-ball around. It's raw, it's pure, and it's your kind of game.
Hoop it up!
Hoop it up from Huntington Beach this week on this regional sports network.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Toledo 400. Depend on Motorola Radius two-way radio systems and the best in technical support from Atlanta Communications. Call them toll-free at 1-800-876-3284. Atlanta Communications, of course, had been on the car of Mike Miller and still is one of his sponsors. Let's go down once again to Ralph Shaheen. He's with Eddie Sharp's crew chief.
That's Doug Blevins. Doug, you got Eddie coming up through the field here this afternoon. Have you guys found a trick set up with the car? Is that making the difference?
We're just trying to bide our time, be patient, just work our way to the front.
How is the car out on the racetrack right now? We've seen a lot of one-group racing out here last night. Does it seem to be the same way? Is that what Eddie is saying?
We're following some of the good people out there and just trying to work our way to the front.
So being patient, taking their time is the key to Eddie Sharp's strategy here today.
Well, let me update you on a couple of things that are feeding the rumor mill these days. Showing up yesterday morning, but parting company and not here at all are Bobby Gill and Jim Daly. You weren't with us. It was a non-televised race, but Bobby Gill jumped behind the wheel of Daly's car and won at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. some speculation as to what the problem might have been. Some say it was over money, but everybody thought Gil might join that team full-time next year. I don't think it's going to happen. Glenn Allen Jr. has apparently signed a deal, or is very close to signing a deal, to run the Busch Grand National Series full-time next year, and will run 7 races in ASA, driving for his own dad, I've been told. And Randy Ellen and his wife, who own or are a part owner and a sponsor of Glenn Allen Jr.'s, I think it's just sponsorship, not an ownership deal at this point, they will own at least a couple of cars in 1996, and they've got a contract pending with Dennis Berry, who's having a good run today in his first ASA start, and Jeff Finley, who's going to run 7 shows in 1996 before running for Rookie of the Year. And then the one that I can't figure out, Rick Beebe, way ahead in the rookie points, and for some reason, he and crew chief Dennis Grossnickel have parted company. Any speculation on what might have been the problem there?
Well, apparently it was a heated dispute or a difference of opinion about something between not Rick Beebe. Rick Beebe was pretty much out of that. It was owner John Freeman and Dennis Grossnickel, very talented crew chief, that has put Rick Beebe in position to win the Rookie of the Year battle here. So we'll try to get to the bottom of that. In any case, it's really a shame that here, when it's just getting fun, Dennis Grossnickel won't be around to enjoy the spoils of what appears to be a victory in the rookie chase by Rick Beebe. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen. You got some more on that, Ralph?
Chuck Gerlach has left that crew as well, Brian, and it was a heated dispute between Carl Roeder and those two, and it had been building over the last few weeks, and Rick Beebe did everything he could to try to keep that thing from boiling over, and he's frustrated to the fact that it happened, especially because that leaves him without a couple of crew guys as far as changing tires, and pit stops can be a huge problem. So he was able to round up Jim Lampman, Dennis Lampman's brother, and one other person who just happened to be here this weekend to work as his crew chief, or crew people. That all came down Saturday night.
Wow. You're watching now cars moving up through the pack after pit stops, including Bob Seneker, Joe Knott, Mike Eddy. And the reason we're not looking at the leader, Brad Loney, is he's way out in front. He's half a straightaway ahead of, listen to this, Kenny Irwin, running as a teammate here this weekend to Dave Sensiva, hoping to go for Rookie of the Year next year, is now in 2nd position. Timing of pit stops has really worked into his hands, played to his advantage, and Kenny Irwin, and just his 2nd or 3rd start in a stock car, doing very, very well. But here's the battle as we're watching Bob Seneker and Joe Knott, somewhere I would guess around 7th, 8th, 9th positions.
Bob Seneker working on the low side there of the number 56 Wonderbar Redline Oil Thunderbird of Brett Bell. And Seneker, well, there he is, still working on the 56 car of Brett Bell. Right behind him is Joe Knott. Of course, these were the guys that were up front, including Mike Eddy and Mike Miller, and these two that were up front before the pit stops. They all came back out in the middle of the field. Now they're working their way back towards the front. There's the leader, Brad Loney. He'll pick up some points, and every point counts. And in fact, by simply leading a lap in this race, he has made up a position in the points. He had trailed Gary St. Amant by 1 point. Gets 5 points for leading a lap. He now moves up a spot in the points chase ahead of Gary St. Amant.
Of course, Brad, one of the youngest teams in the racing series, if not the youngest. He's done well all season long, had a great run leading a lot of laps in Cedar Rapids before spinning late in the going tangling with Mike Eddy. He's 5th among drivers with laps completed, 98.3%, and 7th among lap leaders. Here's that battle now for 6th position between Gary St. Amant, the 88 machine, and Mike Eddy. Right closing behind them are Mike Miller in the 18 and Bob Seneker in car number 84. Now both Mike Eddy and Mike Miller have gotten past Bob Seneker.
Well, you would expect cream to rise to the top once again. Those guys started up front and stayed there, so there was obviously nothing wrong with their cars. They came in and pitted, and now they're gone right back to where they were before. There's Dr. Yale Conley stuck on the outside there as Mike Miller drives underneath, followed by Seneker and Joe Knott. And then, of course, up to the leader. They've got a little bit of ground to make up to Brad Loney.
You know, the guy that we've been kind of wondering if he was having some problems today as we watch these guys continue to battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Right in front of them a couple spots is Brian Refner, so things not going too badly for car number 5. He's just had a quiet afternoon thus far. And look at Joe Knott now beginning to put the pressure on Bob Seneker. So the Bluebird, maybe not quite as good right out of this pit stop as are Mike Eddy and Mike Miller. There's Gary St. Amant. He had come in much earlier, so has slightly older tires than the guys in pursuit of him. Gary, of course, in that wins Ford Thunderbird. He has been the subject of some speculation. Some people thought that he would go full-time super truck racing. He said not so. He wants to win an ASA championship. It's the Premier Short Track Series, and he said that is what he has foremost in his mind.
Ralph Shaheen is down now with the 02 car that's in the pits.
Well, Tony's Pizza's entry of Tim Sauter is in. They have a real problem with a miss in the car. They're not sure where it is, so they brought him in, took a look at it. Now they brought him in and put him behind the wall here to take a look at the car, see if they can diagnose the problem.
Harold Fair on pit road in car number 81. Harold was having a great run here this afternoon. He's being shown in the top 5 in the running order. And he started back in 24th position in the Build-A-Mo Dana Pontiac, and the two-time ASA championship runner-up not having a good day.
Also showing some new sponsors on that car. He had worked his way up from 24th starting position to run among the leaders. So a turn of bad luck for veteran Harold Fair. Here is the leader. Brad Loney, the fastest Chevrolet in ASA, is also leading this race right now. Loney having moved up to 5th in points by virtue of leading a single lap. And there you can see his record. 4 top 5 finishes this year. And the leaves on the front there of the grill of the H&W Flex Steel Chevrolet. Those leaves, every square inch that they cover is a problem because that's that much less air getting to the engine. Apparently it's not a problem right now, but we will continue to track it. 133 laps gone.
We could make our new jet ski watercraft perform like everybody else's, but first, we'd have to slow it down. The new 900 CXI.
Mother's California Gold, the finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restorers. Carnauba wax protects and shines, easy to apply, looks great.
California Gold, there's no shine like Mother's.
When cars raced at an awesome 5 miles per hour, Mobil Oil was there. When a race car broke 100, Mobil was in it. Mobil was in the winner of the first race across America. And just last year, Mobil 1 had the most first, second, and third place wins on the Indy circuit. We've been helping engines last for a long time. Mobil, changing oil for over 125 years.
Sam and I are always looking for ways to make our vehicles perform better and look better.
And for ways to save money, Dave.
If your dashboard looks like this,
here's the answer. A Coverlay Contour dash cover. It costs a fraction of what car dealers charge for replacement dashboards.
Coverlay fits right over the old dash, and it's available for most cars and trucks.
Made from specially formulated plastic, they carry a limited lifetime warranty.
Call 1-800-DASH-MAT for the name of your nearest dealer.
Ask for Coverlay Contour dash covers by name.
We're back here in Toledo at the Speedway. Leader Brad Loney in the Flex Steel Winnebago Econofood Chevrolet in traffic, big time, right on the bumper now of both Dave Sensiba and rookie points leader Rick Beebe. There's Loney, while probably a quarter of the straightaway now. Not quite as much room between him and second place. And the second place car, as you mentioned before, a rookie, first-time driver here in the ASA, Kenny Irwin Jr. Let's go down to Ralph once more.
Well, Harold Fair, you had a really nice run going. What put you out?
Well, I'll tell you, Ralph, this Dana Build-A-Mo Pontiac was really running good today. We knew we had a fast car yesterday. We broke that oil line, and I'm afraid that it might have damaged a little something in the motor yesterday. And all we had to work with was a little push to get rid of today, and I really think we would have been up front. But something in the motor gave up on us.
Harold Fair is out of it.
Well, the reason it's not easy for leader Brad Loney is because Dave Sensiba, whom he just passed, was on the lead lap. So is rookie driver Rick Beebe, and that's why he is not going to just lay over for Loney. He's hoping for a caution in an effort to stay on the lead lap, but I think it's only a matter of time that Brad is going to put that rookie points leader 1 lap down. Beebe just choosing to run side by side with Bill Baird. Now Baird squeezed up a little bit by both Beebe and Brad Loney. Meanwhile, Kenny Irwin in second position has used this to his advantage as he's closed in just a little bit. It's now down from about 2/3 of a straightaway advantage to about half a straightaway for Loney.
Also, part of the conversation this morning or earlier today with Rick Beebe regarding the situation on his team was the fact that he is still not willing to concede this rookie points battle, even though he has a 164-point lead. Now that's a basket full of points compared to what, I mean, we're talking, as we did at the beginning of the show, the difference between first and 10th place, or first and 9th place overall in this series is only a little bit more than that. So here's Rick Beebe saying it's not over, and he's 164 points ahead of his nearest competitor in the Pat Shower Memorial Rookie of the Year, and he's still out there running hard, but he could probably afford to lay back a little bit.
Well, Pitt's strategy has been interesting in the first half of this race this afternoon. Now Mike Eddy, who was on old tires when other drivers came in, he's now got the fresher tires of the 3 drivers in front of him, and he's closing on Brian Refner. Here are the guys that are now 1-2 in the points battle, with Glenn Allen Jr. some 35 laps down if you've just joined us with electrical problems. And right in front of Refner, Kenny Irwin Jr., a rookie, and Brad Loney. Both have been out there longer than has Mike Eddy in car number 88. That's why it appears that he may be, at the moment, the fastest guy out there.
Well, he closed a lot of ground to move up to the rear bumper of Brian Refner and of Kenny Irwin Jr.
Brad Loney is putting Gary Grubbs a lap down in car number 74, making his first ASA start. But it's interesting how easily he caught Rick Beebe, but has not been able to make the pass and get around that driver. So even though Rick Beebe is a rookie in ASA, he kind of cut his racing teeth on I-70 Speedway in the Kansas City, Missouri area, a track very similar to this one. So he now knows how to use a race car to keep the guy behind him.
Well, we've seen the leaves, and we've talked about them a little bit. Ralph, what's the latest on the situation here with the fallen leaves?
Well, Brian, let's show you what happens. This is the radiator hidden back here behind this blue cover inside of Harold Fair's car. Now, there's 4 gaps here in the front end of the car. The 2 in the middle are the ones that lead to the radiator. It's only about a foot long and maybe 2.5 inches wide. You block that up, you know, the leaf might be 3 inches or so in size. You block that up, boy, you cut up a lot of air. That big radiator back there, and these cars will not run without good, cool, clean air going to the radiator.
Did you see that move that Kenny Irwin made, outside then inside, racing like a veteran? Somebody needs to tell him who that is on his back bumper. You just don't do that. And Cindy Peterson is out of shape in car number 36, gathers it in back up on the racing surface, and I don't think that will bring out a caution.
Apparently not, although Roger Slack is holding the flag in his hand. Cindy Peterson, a little soil sampling there, but she managed to get back on the pavement and doing just fine. So we continue with green flag racing. Brad Loney now clear of traffic and able to perhaps stretch out a little bit more distance. But that was quite a move there between Kenny Irwin and, as you said, the man, Mike Eddy.
Now Eddy has finally gotten around him. So has car number 5, Brian Refner, as Brad Loney pulls away in car number 33.
We'll be right back to Toledo in a moment.
My grandfather was already an old man the first time I went fishing with him. My dad whispered, "Watch him cast." And I watched that line go out like a soaring bird. Where'd he learn to do that, I asked. From his father, my dad said, and from Field and Stream. And so it's been since 1895, when Field and Stream was first published.
And now you can continue the tradition with this special TV offer. Call now and get 15 issues of the best in hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation, plus special news specifically for your area, all for this great price. Order now and you'll also get this great-looking heavy-duty Field and Stream field bag.
Just the other day, I took my boy fishing for the first time.
Call this number now for a great price on Field and Stream and get this roomy, sturdy field bag free with your paid subscription. Call now.
The Tigers are prowling. The Gators lurking. It's a battle for survival in the SEC. LSU and Florida, Saturday on this regional sports network.
And we're back at Toledo Speedway, and that guy you're looking at right there doesn't even look like Roger Slack, Brian. I know he's out of your vantage point, but Roger, who's the regular ASA flagman, not with us here this weekend. He's maybe tired of hearing us say this, but he's the youngest flagman from major racing series in the country. country. And that was Mike Dimmitt that you were looking at. I made the mention that he was a former ASA flagman, and you corrected me. Current as well, yeah. Current and former.
About as current as they get.
Yeah, he used to be the regular ASA flagman, but kind of walked away from it. Family responsibilities. Good to see Mike back at the starter stand. We really don't miss a beat with him up there. He's very, very talented, as of course is our regular Roger Slatter.
Well, yeah, in my defense, as you were so quick to jump, he's from our vantage point here in the booth, he's standing behind a couple of telephone poles. I can see the flags when he waves them. I can see his uniform. I can tell it's somebody from ASA, and I just assumed it was Roger. It is not. Of course, I guess we'll see Roger again at our championship event in Jennerstown coming up in 2 weeks. And Brad Loney looking good.
This is 4th and 5th that we're looking at. Kenny Irwin, now the tire's beginning to go away just a little bit on the right side of car number 4. He's lost positions to both Mike Eddy and Brian Refner, who pulled away. Now it's J.D. Summers who's closing, and again, that's 4th and 5th. Kenny, not even a rookie yet, and one of our leading rookie contenders, J.D. Summers, still solidly in the top 5.
Back up front, there's Brad Loney working on the low side of Ted Smokestat, also unwilling to give up a lap. Smokestat, who had qualified 12th, his best qualifying effort ever, now, and unfortunately for him, has been forced to relinquish a lap, going a lap down on race leader Brad Loney, and the fastest Chevrolet in ASA is looking pretty quick.
Well, Smokestat was in 16th position, and I think a tire, did you see how quickly that machine jumped sideways? He either got into some liquid or a tire went down. Now he's back in the racing groove. Something very strange happened, as it didn't go gradually. It was just a very sudden move for car number 32.
Well, that turn 3 area was the scene of a few disasters, as you'll remember, over the last several races we've had here at Toledo. And that is also one of the places that I recall the drivers talking about earlier, where that treatment that they had put on the track was if you get up high a little bit, the tail end starts to go away. That may have been what Smokestat's problem was. It certainly was dramatic.
And he did a great job of gathering it up, and we understand Harold Fair is climbing back behind the wheel of car number 81 and will attempt to, actually that's Alec Pinsonneau's car. So Harold subbing for Alec Pinsonneau, the Canadian driver.
Two virtually identical machines except for the number on the side. There's Alec Pinsonneau, who's climbed out of his 93 car in favor of Harold Fair. Of course, Harold Fair running regularly on the series, currently 15th in points, while Alec Pinsonneau is an occasional visitor to the American Speed Association. So they're letting the regular guy get back out there on the track.
Watching the leader, Brad Loney, in that Flex Steel Winnebago Econo Food Chevy, a brand new sponsor added to the roster for him, as he's now trying to put a lap on yet another rookie. That's the car number 31 of Rick Miller.
Just about everybody is down a lap at this point. There aren't very many cars on the lead lap anymore, and we're less than halfway through this race. Looking at the race for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Screen full of Bob Seneker, Joe Knott, Gary St. Amant, and J.D. Summers. Let's go down to Ralph. He's got a little more on the situation of why Alec Pinsonneau's out of the car.
Well, Alec, how come the driver changed?
Because I had no power steering from the start, and my arms are really tired, and because it's close to the championship, I don't want to be messing nobody up out there.
Smart move on Alec Pinsonneau's part. He is a part-time runner on the ASA Tour, whereas his teammate, Harold Fair, runs on a regular basis.
You know, Glenn Allen Sr., a former race driver himself, and working with his son, Glenn Allen Jr., wanted to remind me of something, and of course he's right. I have from time to time said, when a driver, you can see a big puff of smoke and the power steering pump goes away. Gee, I don't know what these guys are complaining about, because Mike Eddy runs always with no power steering, and he rightly said, you know, when you do have power steering, your setup is completely different. You have a much slower steering ratio. You have more caster in the front wheels of the car. In other words, they sit at more of an angle. And when you lose the power steering, when your car is set up to run with power steering, it is a much more physical task than a car like Mike Eddy's that's set up to run with no power steering to begin with. So thanks, Glenn Allen Sr., for correcting me.
Looking at the leader, Brad Loney, who's trying to work around some lap traffic there. We'll be right back to Toledo.
Just how long does a car battery last? About this much time is put into most batteries. But AC-Delco puts in more time, so our batteries last over 20% longer. Well, now there's the new Delco Freedom 84, our longest-lasting battery ever. We put in 7 years of guaranteed starts, making it the granddaddy of all batteries.
Hey, my watch! There's one way to win the Napa 500, and then there's another. At Napa's Pick the Winner sale, where you can register for a chance to win the Napa 500 pace car. While you're here, pick up some great parts and accessories at low prices, like a Napa Power Battery, just $29.99, and Napa Motor Oil for only 89 cents. The Pick the Winner sale, going on now at Napa.
We keep America running. We keep America running.
Get the inside scoop, the division news, and dish out the winner. All the news from your favorite pro teams on DirecTV's Pro Football Insider with Fred Edelstein. Every week on this regional sports network.
We're under caution here at Toledo Speedway, and the caution brought out by Gary Grubbs in the 74 machine, the Jim and Slim's Tool Native Sun Sports Chevrolet. He smoked it up pretty good there in turn number 2, locked things up, got sideways, didn't touch anybody or anything, and got it back going again, but apparently they decided to bring out a caution nevertheless.
And Gary Grubbs, a road racer, here he is up in turn number 1 in the shadows, and listen, we have a hard time seeing it from our vantage point because of the way the sun is beating down. Cars scooting to the bottom and to the top, and I don't think there was any contact, maybe a little bit between Grubbs and no, I don't think so. It looks like Bill Baird is able to slide by on the high side without incident. The real beneficiary of this, by the way, was car number 50, Eddie Sharp. We talked about that young man. He was about to go down. There's your leader on pit road.
And Ralph is there.
Well, Brad Loney is in. They're taking right side tires. You can also see him working on that right front grill area up there. Looks like it might have been getting a little hot inside the motor, and so they were spraying the engine down a little bit. John, was the motor getting a little hot? Is that why you're cooling it off?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the engine was getting a little hot, so they're spraying a little water in there to cool it back down for him.
Well, he could have elaborated on that a little bit, I guess. A man of very few words. Yeah. But Brad did have a great pit stop. In fact, they stopped.
Well, the points battle, of course, getting much more interesting, and Brad Loney having made up a position in the points race. This week's Young Racers feature, ironically enough, is on that very subject. Here's Josh Duvall.
Hi, I'm Josh Duvall. This week's question is about the points race here in ASA. Brian Ruffner is leading, as you all probably know, and Mike Eddy and Glenn Allen Jr. are trying to catch up. And the question is, how are they going to have to finish and qualify to catch up with him? So we're going to ask Brian Robbins, Vice President of ASA.
Well, Josh, that's a pretty good question. There's 175 points available to the winner of each event in ASA. And right now there's about a 70-point spread between the leader, Brian Ruffner, and Glenn Allen Jr. in second, and Mike Eddy's about 90 points behind. So right now, for either one of them two to catch Brian, they're going to have to hope that Brian has some bad luck. And so far, they've each had their bad luck. I guess it's his turn. He hasn't fallen out of a race all year, and it's going to be up to him, I guess, to make his own luck.
If you've got a question about racing, send it to me at The Young Racers, P.O. Box 26792, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28221.
Hope you enjoyed our Young Racers feature throughout this year. Some of our younger race fans always ask those probing questions, and we count on Josh Duvall to chase down the answers out there. It's a math game right now, and as Brian Robbins very correctly pointed out, Brian Ruffner has not had what you would call a bad race all year long. He has been very steady and has been very consistent throughout. Once again, let's go down to Ralph Shaheen with Brad Loney's crew chief.
Kurt Beckler, how hot is your car running right now?
Well, the Winnebago Chevy got hot on the first long green because there's a lot of leaves up there got in the grill. It was running about 230, 240, so that's why one major reason we come in early, at about 50 laps, but now the leaves aren't a problem. We're running about 210.
We've heard that about 230 is where you really got to watch for that engine to let go. Will it stay now about 210, or once it gets that hot, how much will it fluctuate?
When they take the green, it usually comes down 5-10 degrees, so we're not concerned about it at all.
Something to keep our eyes on, gentlemen.
How how things shuffle as we go back to green, how things shuffle. The new leader is Dennis Berry in car number 75, who did not come on pit road, and Eddie Sharp in car number 50, who was just about to lose a lap to number 33, Brad Loney, stayed out on the racetrack, and in fact, we're showing him unofficially in second position, though the scoreboard doesn't reflect that, but I did get confirmation from our scoring experts up here, the Know-It-All brothers, but second for him didn't last very long as Brad Loney goes blasting by on the low side.
Well, he made a double pass there very quickly underneath the number 74 car of Gary Grubbs, and so Brad Loney wasting no time heading towards the front. There he comes up on the 75 car. And things should sort themselves out again here as we're approaching halftime, you might say. We continue to divide this 400-lap race up into quarters, and we're just under 200 right now. There's another look at Brad Loney as he goes by Glenn Allen Jr. And a weekend actually that started out with such high hopes of Glenn Allen Jr. being able to gain some ground on Brian Reffner in the points battle has certainly gone the other way.
There is the number 75 car again, Dennis Berry, having a great run today, making his first ASA start. Now, he won last night in what they call an Iceman Series race here at Toledo, a 100-lap race. So we're now going into a distance that Dennis Berry is not really familiar with. So, whether or not that will affect him physically as the afternoon progresses, who knows, but he's having a great run. And Brad Loney is also having a great ride and a good stop for his crew. As look how quickly, after coming on pit road, Brian, he's made his way back to the lead.
Didn't take long for Brad Loney, and of course it didn't take long for his crew to get him back out there. Things are settling down. There's a good look at Bob Senecker on the outside, and Brian Reffner just so steady, so consistent, and he is displaying the patience of a veteran. An update on Glenn Allen Jr. We go once again to Ralph.
Well, they changed the battery, they changed the coil, and they changed the carburetor, and they still have no idea what's wrong with number 15 Eagle Look Construction backcountry Glenn Allen Jr.
I'm guessing, Rob, put your thinking cap on there, your keen analytical mind. I'm guessing it's probably those kniffling pins that have come loose, and the Framus wheel is loose, and maybe the muffler bearing's causing some problems. If they don't know, I'm sure we can't figure it out.
I know, and I know the people at Pontiac have really been concerned about their kniffling pins, and it's something that I'm sure over the off-season they'll really take a look at. Okay, we know there's no such thing. In other words, what we're saying is nobody has the slightest idea what Glenn Allen's problem is, though he stayed out and in competition.
Well, they thought initially it was electrical problems, and of course, in changing the battery and the coil, that would have that's another clue that that's exactly what they thought. And those nasty electrons out there could be anything. I mean, we've seen some really peculiar stuff going on this season. What about the story, of course, the Tony Raines guys? They went out and bought what they thought was a barrel of racing gasoline and ended up coming back with methanol instead, and that ended a day early for them.
And Dennis Berry now sliding backwards through the field. Here comes Kenny Irwin, and this number 40 car is really doing a super job this afternoon. Kenny Irwin dueling for 4th position, and I believe this is only his 4th career ASA start, and I don't know that he's run all day long at any of the events. So he's like Dennis Berry at a distance that he's unfamiliar with, but Kenny Irwin definitely stamping himself as the guy that a lot of car owners should take a look at as a possible rookie candidate next year. Right behind them, you're looking at Brian Reffner in car number 5. He's dropped back a couple of positions as both Mike Eddy and Bob Senecker have gotten away from this battle for 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And look at Reffner on the high side sliding back as Jay Sauter moves underneath him in car number 1. We haven't talked much about Jay today in that Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Oil Pontiac. He's expecting a full-on assault next year. Of course, he drove for KC Motorsports last year. Chris Weiss, a great bunch of guys. They just flat didn't want to continue to spend the money that they had been pumping into this sport. So Jay, not one to give up, is affiliated with a new car owner and expects to go the whole way to 1996.
We are right at halftime right now, 201 laps into this 400-lap race at Toledo. Brad Loney, Bob Senecker, Mike Eddy, some familiar names up front.
Howard Grossman does one thing better than anyone else. He plays the game of blackjack and wins big time. But to casino owners, he's not only good, he's dangerous. In fact, he needs a disguise to play blackjack at virtually every major casino. All because he figured out how to beat the odds. People have gladly spent hundreds of dollars just to learn Howard Grossman's secrets. And now you can learn from the master himself in his tell-all video, The Secrets of Blackjack. which can now be yours for just $19.95, but only through this exclusive TV offer.
You have 12. The dealer's up card is 2. What do? You hit once, and I'll show you why.
You'll learn everything you need to know to win. Call now and we'll include the handy reminder card absolutely free. Our guarantee, if you don't at least double your money, we'll gladly refund your purchase.
Soft 18. Most people would stand. Those people are wrong, and I'll show you why.
Call now to order and see how easy it is to win.
I'm Jack Nicklaus, and I've just joined Golf Magazine as special contributor. You can join Golf Magazine, too.
Call now for Golf Magazine, and you'll also get absolutely free Jack's video playing the percentages, an insider's guide to improving your game. Jack, it's great to have you on the Golf Magazine team. Where should we look for you in upcoming issues?
Where else? The golf course.
One of our most loyal fans hanging on our every word here at Toledo Speedway as we are just into the second half of the race. Brad Loney leading, and in the same frame with him there is Tony Raines. Of course, Raines also into this race with high hopes. He went in early with rear differential problems. As we look back at the first half of the race, Rob Albright, our summary right now, 7 different leaders, 8 lead changes, and we still have 14 cars on the lead lap.
It's been very interesting to the midpoint of this race, primarily because drivers have chosen off times to make pit stops. By that, I mean normally you'll see all the leaders coming in together. That has not been the case today. And I think more than anything, Brian, it's been a function of when the leaves gather on the front grill area of that race car and cause the engine temperature to go up. That's when they elect to come on pit road. Of the 14 cars that are still on the lead lap, a fellow that we haven't even mentioned is a guy that suffered through a horrible year this year. We've got to give him a call. Tom Jones, perennially one of the favorite of the ASA race fans. That's why they call him the Zero Hero. Way back in 23rd in the point standings. He and the Felpro people, the longest running team sponsorship in ASA. And we heard rumblings from Tom earlier this year that I can't continue to do this and not run well. He's a full-time automobile repair shop owner and a part-time racer, and that's awfully tough these days. But he's doing a great job today in the Felpro Pace Jacks Pontiac. Our hats off to Tom Jones, who's running in 13th in a good run here today.
Started 27th, and just to remain on the lead lap, he has done more than fully 2/3 of the field. 40 cars started, 14 remain on the lead lap. And as interesting as things were when they first started out, it really has kind of settled down right now. And as we are in this sort of middle part of the race, and everybody seems to have found where they want to be and where they want to hang out right now to get set up for that last 100 laps. So we're getting close to that.
Well, you can see that Bob Seneker and Mike Eddy have begun to close in on the leader, and that, of course, is Brad Loney. And they have made their way through traffic and now are about a half straightaway back of Loney, who's got his hands full with Tony Raines. Tony is about 18 laps down. He was on pit road with a problem in the rear end for an extended period of time, and but he's hanging right on the tail of Brad Loney. Well, it sounds like I'm stuttering, and we got a car in flames. Oh. Dennis Berry's car number 75 erupts up in turn number 3, and that car has come to rest in the 4th corner, and I've not seen that much flame come out of a race car in a long, long time.
A very spectacular incident there. Dennis Berry out of the car and over the wall. He's probably rolling around in some leaves over there, and we're just glad that he seems to be out of the obvious answer to why that car went up in flames. He must have broken a fuel line or something, which fed the flames quickly. It was a conflagration in a hurry over there on the 75 car. So the split fire Pyroil All-City Hardwood Chevrolet up in flames at turn number 2, and the crew running after it right now. There you can see they're quickly attending to the flames. Dennis is over on the other side of the car.
You know, a lot of times you'll see a car going quickly up in flames, as that one did, and Dennis Berry, I think, is in some pain. He's probably sustained some burns or some smoke inhalation, but if it's an engine that lets go, usually something's broken in the engine, and the oil flames up very quickly, and it'll be a big flame for a very short period of time, but that burned for a long, long time. So we're only going to sit here and not even conjecture what might have really caused this problem for Dennis Berry.
Well, he's over there in the woods, and the crew, not only his own, but the safety crew here at the racetrack, and they're obviously concerned, and they're still having some problems over there with Dennis Berry, the driver of the car. They seem to have extinguished the flames on the car itself. Here's a look at him, and that looks like something out of a stunt scene in a movie right there.
Well, and the way the car did spin, that is usually an indication that an engine has let go and the oil dumps and it gets in front of the rear drive wheels of the car, sending him into an immediate spin. But what caused it to continue burning is what is perplexing to me. I've never seen that happen unless of fitting brakes on the fuel tank or something like that to cause fuel to be able to ignite as well.
Well, he backed it in pretty hard, but the car was already in flames at that point. A lot of the leaders, including Brad Loney, have come into the pits and are now back out again. Obviously, we're under caution here at Toledo, and we'll be back in a moment.
When cars raced at an awesome 5 miles per hour, Mobil Oil was there. When a race car broke 100, Mobil was in it. Mobil was in the winner of the first race across America. And just last year, Mobil 1 had the most first, second, and third place wins on the Indy circuit. We've been helping engines last for a long time. Mobil, changing oil for over 125 years.
Sam, this is the best thing I've ever seen to spruce up the inside of a pickup that's seen better days.
That's right, Dave. This is a really neat product. This is the Coverlay replacement door panel, and it costs a fraction of what car dealers would charge you for replacement panels.
And they're easy to install. About 15 minutes a door.
Coverlay's replacement door panels are made of specially formulated plastic and carry a limited lifetime warranty.
Call 1-800-DASH-MAT for the name of your nearest dealer.
Ask for Coverlay replacement door panels by name.
Welcome to a new way to communicate. A new source of news, information, and software available through your computer 24 hours a day. This is the official America Online Tour.
Let me show you how America Online really works. You just point and click.
You've got mail.
Hey, I've got mail.
You can send and receive email even across the internet.
I've done that. Really?
Scan the latest headline. Browse Time Magazine. Find out what's on TV with ABC Online. Look up facts in Compton's Encyclopedia. You can even explore the Smithsonian right on your computer.
My son gets help with his homework.
Call now for your free trial. You'll get free software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. America Online. It's knowledge. It's powerful.
And?
Okay, it's fun.
Call now for a no-obligation free trial of America Online. You'll get free startup software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. Call now, 1-800-537-0300.
The level of concern over the driver of the number 75 car and the car itself, of course, is still at a very high level. Let's take another look at what happened. Here is the car.
And that, of course, is that split-fire Pyroil Chevrolet. There's Dennis Berry bailing out, and you can see that he rolls down behind the wall. And, you know, my feeling is that probably is more smoke than anything else.
Ralph Shaheen has already talked with some of the crew members, Ralph.
You can see the car over our shoulders back here. They've got a stretcher out. Dennis is still behind the wall. The crew and the medical staff attending to him there. And I'm with Dick Hoffman, his car owner. Dick, you've talked to him via the radio. What have they said?
Oh, they just said he got a little warm and black smoke and just needs some air.
Any idea what could have caused the car to erupt like that and then stay lit like that?
Well, I don't. He complained that the power steering was out about 20 laps, and you've seen what I did. I have no idea.
And amazing, you can see he is finally up and standing now, and he should be coming up over the wall. You can see he's awfully tired and suffering from, as we said, problems with the fumes that come into the car, all the smoke and so forth. And he seems to be in pretty good shape. I'm sure he'll probably get into the ambulance, so we probably won't get a chance to talk to him just yet, gentlemen. But good to see that Dennis Berry is up and okay and walking around.
Well, it's also, there he is. He's actually up on top of his car waving to the crowd, so he wants everyone to know in no uncertain terms that he is okay. Here's another look in real time, and there it is, just a huge ball of flame as it backs into the wall up here, and just even a further eruption just at that very moment. Dennis getting out of the car quite quickly, and apparently for the most part just smoke and fumes. And I always remark the way some of these guys will understate. Well, he got a little warm in there. It's like jumping into a pizza oven. I guess it was a little warm.
You know, historically, fire has always been the racer's greatest nemesis and the greatest fear, but with the advent of the dual-layer fuel cells, we haven't seen a lot of fire, and usually the only time it happens is when a car hits the wall with a tail end first and it breaks that seal between the valve and the fuel cell itself. The fuel cells just never seemed to have any problem, but again, we don't know if that was a part of this or if it strictly was a result of engine oil.
The crew of the number 75 car, the split power oil entry, continues to work on it. The driver is okay. The crowd is on its feet. We still got a lot of racing.
Listen, it's okay to hassle with a handheld trimmer now and then, or even a small wheels mower as long as you stick to short grass. But now, you can have the best of both machines in the revolutionary 2 machines in 1 DR trimmer mower. First, the DR is a trimmer that rolls light as a feather on 2 big wheels. That takes the load off your back while you do all your trimming. Second, the DR is a heavy-duty bladeless mower. It clears rough areas, tall weeds, even wet grass without clogging. So now, with this one machine, you can take control of your property like never before with the revolutionary DR trimmer mower. A big color catalog is just $2. Call toll-free 1-800-522-5333. That's 1-800-522-5333 for your big color catalog all about the 2 machines in 1 DR trimmer mower.
Hang on for the #1 bull riding show in America. Bull riders only.
Look at here, boys.
Grab them by the horns every week on this regional sports network.
The AC-Delco Challenge Series Toledo 400 on Prime is brought to you in part by Win Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. And by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. Well, things have calmed down just a little bit here, and here is Mrs. Dennis Berry, and she is showing some concern, but also a measure of relief, I would expect. We saw that Dennis was very definitely all right, at least for the most part. And the car, by nobody's measure, is all right. That car is done for the day, if not for quite a while.
Yeah, that's just amazing. I've never seen anything like that, and I've been around this series a lot of years. We've been joined in the tower by Dave Argabright, who is one of the preeminent wordsmiths in all of motorsports, a regular columnist for the National Speed Sport News, and he gets more positive things written about him in the letters to the editor than anybody. Dave, glad to see you here. You didn't bring this bizarre incident with you, did you, today?
No, I wouldn't bring that to anybody. That was a scary looking deal right there. You were right. Fire is just the big fear of anybody.
I know you've been kind of making the racing rounds this weekend as we get ready to go back to green with Bob Seneker, Gary St. Amant, and Joe Knott running 1, 2, 3. First time you've been at an ASA race in a while.
You know, and the startling thing to me is the young drivers that are really coming to the front here. Brian Reffner is extremely impressive. You just got a crop of young guys, Brad Loney with this series, and it's got a great future.
What happens to some of the veterans, like a Tom Jones, like a Kent Stauffer, who've been around for years and years? It just gets tougher and tougher for them. Don't they, at some point, Dave, have to make a decision whether or not it's worth it? And you just can't come to this series and be a part-time racer anymore, no matter how talented you are behind the wheel.
Right, and I think a lot of guys think that they hang with a series long enough and they're bound to win some races when some of the real leaders like Seneca and Eddie and so on retire and go on, but it doesn't work that way. You don't just mature into winning. You have to have a good team with you, and you've got to have a total commitment with everybody down the line, and it's very tough to do that with a part-time racer.
Another incident on the racetrack, excuse me, gentlemen, is right down here on start-finish line. The Simonton Windows entry of Dr. Yale Conley has found the wall exiting turn 4, and substantial damage to that automobile as well. You see he's rearranged the whole front end of the car, and he too is about to climb out and is apparently all right. We saw the window net come out, and we have yet to see Dr. Conley emerge, but I'm sure he just tagged it pretty hard there. Could have been as a result of perhaps some of the fluids or dust or whatever from the track crew that cleaned up the incident, because up in turn 4, of course, is where Dennis Berry went. Let's take another look at it here, Rob.
Coming off turn number 4, there he is, hard into the outside retaining wall. Again, we would not even dare to conjecture whether or not there was contact with another race car. What is it about Toledo Motor Speedway? Even when we begin very uneventfully, as we did this afternoon, there's something about this place that, I don't know, there's little critters, I think, running around underneath the pavement, and they just reach up and grab the unsuspecting. at any time.
Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen, who has tracked down some more of the situation with Dennis Berry.
Well, here's the car. It's finally made its way back to the garage area, and the usual things, paint melted off and so forth. But look at this. It has melted the spoiler right to the back of the car. That is some amazing heat. I can't even begin to guess how much heat it would take to actually melt this spoiler right to the bodywork.
Man, oh man.
Pretty
It's
amazing.
just unbelievable. And of course, the American Speed Association, the bodies are not steel. They're a fiberglass composite with Kevlar, very tough and resilient. But man, nothing can withstand the kind of heat that he'd had to face.
Dr. Yale Conley out of the car and being escorted to the infield. He's waving to the crowd, letting everybody know he's all right. We're under caution here in Toledo. We'll be right back.
Think about your commitment, academically as well. Think about the love you've shown your parents.
Coach Holtz is considered to be one of the best coaches and motivators ever in the game of football. Join Lou Holtz and the Notre Dame football staff as they teach young football players in the Lou Holtz Football Camp video. Learn all the offensive and defensive techniques and philosophies necessary to be a champion on the field and in life.
You're here, you're a football player. You do the best you can to the best of your ability at all times. I have no doubt in my mind. If you take the fundamental principles that are applied in this video and transform them onto the football field, you will be ultra successful.
Order now. Call 1-800-263-4411. Order the Lou Holtz Football Camp video for $29.95 and get the football camp ball cap with Notre Dame logo absolutely free. Be a winner. Call now.
You don't have to be 19 to have a body like this. You don't have to work out 8 hours a day. You don't have to be narcissistic or shallow. In fact, all you really need is $39 a month. The SoloFlex Muscle Machine. What are you waiting for?
Loves to see this kind of
There's a young fan with a souvenir off the race car of Dr. Yale Conley. He'll have something to take home. He was there when it happened. Tune in to Prime on Sunday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. in the center of the country when the AC-Delco Challenge Series presents the 1995 ASA Championship Race. Hold on to your hats because as good as this one is, that one's going to be even better. The AC-Delco Rapid Fire 400 live from the Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. 2 weeks from today, Sunday, October 15th, 2 o'clock, right here, live on Prime.
And I can tell you, race fans, the title will not be settled between now and then because two of the top three drivers in points coming in, still running in the top 10 as Yale Conley's battered machine is hauled to the infield. Let me give you a quick rundown of the cars that still remain on the lead lap. 13 of them, a surprising number of rookies in that bunch. Bob Seneca is the race leader, followed by Gary St. Amant in car number 7. Mike Eddy runs third. Fourth is Brad Loney, car number 33. Jay Sauter in fifth position. Sixth is our points leader, Brian Reffner. Seventh is rookie J.D. Summers. Eighth is Tom Jones. Ninth is Mike Miller's car number 18. 10th is rookie Eddie Sharp. 11th is rookie Brandon Sperling. In 12th position is Joe Knott, car number 48. And in 13th position, guy's not even a rookie yet and plans to be next year, Kenny Irwin Jr. And Dave Argabright, I would say that your expertise, and I watched you work, you helped me do the Little 500 for radio, the sprint car race in May, so I know that you're really more knowledgeable in terms of the open wheelers than the stock cars. Are you surprised at what a performance young Kenny Irwin is turning in this afternoon?
Not at all. He's a great young racer, and he's got a good future ahead of him. What Kenny has to sort out, he's at a little bit of a crossroads. He's got to decide whether he wants to race ASA next year or go race open wheel cars, which he happens to be very, very good at. And it'd be a good thing for him to run this series next year because he could certainly go after the rookie title, and he'd be a good rookie champion.
I kind of heard a little mixed emotion in your voice, though. Kind of like to maybe see him stay in the open wheelers?
Well, you know, you hate to see a guy get stuck doing anything, and right now ASA gives much more of an avenue out for people than sprint cars and midgets do. So for Kenny's sake, I just hope he makes a good choice that is good for his career.
Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen, who's with Dr. Yale Conley.
Doc, what happened to you?
Ralph, I don't know. There was a pack of us racing, and I got hit on I think my left rear, and swung me around, and the car just bit and shot in the wall, out of control. I mean, I had a good run going, probably one of my better runs for a short track. you know, it's done for today.
Well, using your medical knowledge, I'm sure you've checked yourself over. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. A little shook up. Broken heart. It'll heal.
So I'm told.
Okay.
What a great guy Dr. Yale Conley is. You know, a lot of times you think about doctors as maybe having big egos. He's the most down-to-earth guy you'd ever want to meet. And here it is again, a really hard ride into the turn 4 wall. And it's been a number of people over the last several years that we've been at Toledo televising races here.
The Simonton Windows folks, as we said, they reward their salespeople by giving them a T-shirt and a ticket to an ASA race. And Doc told me they had over 60 guys here, so they're selling some windows. We'll be back to Toledo in a moment.
AC-Delco knows that as a car gets older, its engine runs rougher. So we developed a spark plug to help bring back new car feel, and things really gelled. Introducing Rapid Fire from AC-Delco. It makes an engine idle up to 27% smoother and accelerate with up to 18% quicker throttle response. New Rapid Fire. Its performance ought to have the competition shaking.
Win's Extend Supreme Plus is a patented oil supplement especially formulated for today's high-tech engines. Extend helps increase oil life, combats engine wear, and reduces oil oxidation. So next time and every time you have your oil changed, ask for Extend, the supplement that will not void manufacturer's warranties and comes with its own 100,000-mile warranty. Extend Supreme Plus, a Win Oil Company product since 1939. Available at your quality service facility, including Firestone, Goodyear, and Grease Monkeys.
Looking for a good scare? Tune into Prime in October. Who dares to enter the hallowed grounds of the SEC and ACC? Protecting their turf, these gridiron monsters have set the trap for their unfortunate guests. Then, a full moon shines on the Charlotte Motor Speedway as the demons of speed fire up their engine, and the spell is cast with the initial kick, blowing past the competition like phantoms of the field, carving the ball and driving into the net. So tune in for bone-chilling fun this October on Prime.
Hello, everybody. Brian Drever, Rob Albright, Ralph Shaheen, and a special guest in the booth, Dave Argabright of the National Speed Sport News. Right now, we're talking as we get ready to go back to green here. The leaders, as we have run down, are Bob Seneker, Gary St. Amant, Mike Eddy, Brad Loney, and Jay Sauter, the top 5. And Dave, I've got to ask you kind of the dumb guy question. Okay, we're 240 laps into this race. Have you formed an impression, opinion, or look into your crystal ball and what are the next 160 going to be like?
Well, I'll tell you, I learned a long time ago you never bet against the Bluebird. If it's past the halfway point, he's in contention because he's just such a sly fox. But I'll tell you, Brian, I was away from ASA now for a couple years, and some things never change. Mike Eddy qualified toward the middle, and they threw the green flag, and I mean, he went for the lead like a chicken gets after a June bug. I mean, just boom, straight to the front. So if he's got it, I think he's going to do it here today. If he stays strong this next 175 laps, he'll be there.
Well, that'll put him, depending on where Brian Reffner finishes, in a solid second place going into the championship race. Mike Eddy has always done what he's had to do in order to give himself the best opportunity to not only win a race but a championship. He's won 7 championships in virtually countless races, so Mike Eddy will continue to be the man to watch. We've got another yellow flag flying, not exactly sure why. Okay, debris on the racetrack. There it is, some genuine, honest-to-goodness, real live debris. Identify the color of that race debris and win a special prize.
I don't know. Red and yellow?
Eddie Sharp.
Yeah, that's what I think, too. Kind of looks that way. Eddie, by the way, is having a great run today. Remains on the lead lap in car number 50. His best performance to date. And since he's made his way to the bottom of the racetrack, and apparently will head on pit road, one might deduce that, yes, that was some fiberglass bodywork from Eddie's car number 50. As he went by the start-finish line, he was minus the right front fender.
Well, there he is, right up behind the pace car. He's getting ready to come in. The color of the debris on the racetrack let us know whose it was, and now Ralph Shaheen is down there to let us know perhaps why.
Well, Brian, the car was bottoming out on the racetrack, so they're going to bring Eddie in, jack the car up, and take a look to see what the problem is. Could be maybe a problem with the shock, something along those lines, but it's definitely changed the ride height of the car. The car is now scraping along the bottom of the racetrack. They're going to get in there and take a look up here, especially in the right front corner, see if they can figure out what it is.
Getting a little bit of help from some of the other crews. I believe that's some of the crew members from Tim Sauter's Tony's Pizza car over there giving a little bit of help. And that right front rim didn't look too good. He's going back out anyway.
You know, it seems to me that would almost have to affect the way the tire seals at the bead there on that rim with that vent like that. And I don't know. I guess it's possible that could be part of what his problem is, or he might have. Although they did not take a look at that right front corner at all.
Well, they were down under that right front side.
No,
actually,
I meant the tire and wheel.
Oh, the wheel. Yeah, they were looking
attention
around the suspension. Maybe Eddie's just gone back out there now as the pace car started to get close, and perhaps yes, it looks like he's getting ready to duck down again. We're apparently now hearing that it's the right front shock on the number 50 car, the Sharp Racing machine, that is broken. So they're going to replace it. That'll take them a little bit of time. Getting ready to go back. Green flag. That's some more bad news for Eddie Sharp, who had a great run going here today on the lead lap and moving up.
As we get ready to go back to green, if you've joined us late, you wondered we had a 3-car battle for the points championship coming in. Glenn Allen Jr. among the leaders has had problems. Mike Eddy and Brian Revner still very much in the hunt. Also expected front runners today. Scott Hansen and Tony Raines have both had their share of problems as well. Many, many laps down, but still out on the racetrack.
There's Eddie Sharp getting ready to come back in again with a very badly bent right front wheel. That was visible to us, and again, now we've heard that the shock is broken. They're going to replace it. Ralph's there.
This is one of the shocks in Eddie's car, and it's the top part of the shock here that is broken. They're going around now to the right front part of the car to get it fixed, and Eddie calls me over. He wants to talk. Well, Eddie, what's the problem with the shocks?
Yeah, when we got in that mishap with that lap car, we broke the right front shock. And, man, it was the best race car I've been in all year. Guys are working their butts off. We had a little bad luck, but we're going to keep digging.
Maybe it's that new mustache and beard you've been trying to grow.
Hey, it's working!
Very personable Eddie Sharp, who came into this season with high hopes. Of course, even as a rookie contender, he's currently 4th in the rookie points among 7 drivers who are actively in contention for that Pat Shower Memorial Rookie Driver of the Year. And right now, Rick Beebe is the leader in that competition, the leader on the racetrack, none other than the sneaker himself, Bob Seneker, getting back perhaps to Bob Ardebright here. And now we've seen yet another couple of incidents going on. Is that crystal ball clearing up just a little bit more, maybe?
Well, like I say, you never bet against Seneca, and all these yellow laps probably help him a little bit because what he's got, he doesn't have to use up. But you know, you can't count Eddie out. It's amazing. We talk about the young talent they have. These guys have had the staying power all these years. Even among challenger after challenger, those two still rise to the top.
The caution flag came out once again. There's a rear bumper apparently off somebody's car. Identify the color of that race car and win a special prize.
What, the bumper?
Yes.
You get to take that with you, right? I mean, that is the prize. Well, it looks like it might be Brandon Sperling's.
Well,
there you
I don't know. It looked like a red bumper laying on the track, so
well,
it might be
maybe
somebody else's.
Oh, well, it could be painted red on the inside.
Oh,
Give
there
me a
you
break.
go. That's the answer to the musical question. And while we're pondering yet more questions here and the fate of the Toledo 400 and the outcome of this race, we'll take another break and we'll join you in a moment.
It doesn't matter if you're the best driver. It doesn't matter if you got the best car or the best crew or even the shiniest wheels on the track. If you don't have Goodyear Eagle tires, well, you're just not going to win the NASCAR championship.
Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
Without Goodyear, you're not going to win one of these. Believe me, I know.
Power up with a power-engineered system from Competition Cam. Matching components for peak horsepower. Cams, lifters, springs, valves, rockers, timing sets, and push rods. An unbeatable system. Power-engineered components produce outstanding power and outstanding torque. Cam Help is your toll-free link to the Competition Cam's technical department. Call 1-800-999-0853. You can't beat a power-engineered system from Competition Cam.
Over the years, I've seen a lot of winners on the track, Walter, Eddie, and Wallace. I know that to be a winner, you need top performance, and that's why I recommend Engine Restorer and Lubricant. Designed for older, high-mileage cars and trucks, its unique formula reduces oil burning and increases compression and horsepower to renew your engine and improve performance to near original levels. Take it from an old pro. For renewed engine performance, go with a winner, Engine Restorer.
Welcome back to Toledo Speedway. Back to green here, we hope anyway, for a while. We've had a couple of caution flags here back-to-back very quickly for debris on the racetrack. Bob Seneker leading, Mike Eddy challenging. I mean, is this sort of business as usual, you might say so. Mike Eddy going for the lead and has it easily. Bob Seneker trying to tuck into second spot. Brad Loney with ideas of taking the same line around the outside of the Bluebird number 84, but Mike Eddy has seized the lead here. And for the record, 254 laps into the race. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen with Glenn Allen Jr.
Well, you can see they're working on the car again. Glenny, this has got to be an awfully frustrating day for you. How are you going to keep your championship hopes up now?
The guys worked awful hard for us. We changed everything that we've got. We changed the ignition boxes and coils and wires and everything we can think of, the battery, and nothing we can do.
Off he goes.
What did he say, Brian?
Oh, I'm not sure. We had about a bazillion horsepower in our ears there. And here now is Jay Sauter going around Bob Seneker. So if Seneker is playing the crafty, patient, waiting game, he's playing it not quite as well as Jay Sauter and Brian Refner, both of whom have gone around number 84.
You know, we've seen at this track in the past that sometimes it takes a car a number of laps after running under caution to really get running well again. The tires cool down. That may be the situation for Seneker, but he's not going backwards on purpose at this point. And they continue to slide by on the high side. Now it's Mike Miller and J.D. Summers closing up to try to shove Bob back yet a couple more spots.
J.D. Summer going low. Mike Miller trying to work around the outside as Seneker would defend that low track position. That would leave him vulnerable for a high side pass. Miller and Seneker were going at it earlier in the race as they started very close to one another early on and challenged for the lead. When Seneker was the leader, it was Mike Miller pushing him in second spot very early in this race.
There's the best battle. It's for third position as Mike Eddy and Brad Loney have checked out, and about 10 car lengths separate them, but only a couple of cars between Jay Sauter and points leader Brian Refner running in the third and fourth positions. We've seen Jay running a handful of races this season with some really strong performances, especially on the road course. Right now at this late juncture of the race, in his maybe best position to win one in the entire 1995 racing season. He's looking really at this as a launch into 1996.
Ralph Shaheen has chased some more information on the situation with Bob Seneker. Ralph?
Well, unfortunately, Brian, it's not good information. Bob Seneker is down a cylinder. They don't know why. Maybe a plug wire's come off, but the car is definitely running on 5 cylinders, not the 6 that it's supposed to be on.
Well, I'll tell you, it's running awfully well to be down a cylinder because J.D. Summers and Mike Miller have both lost some ground to Seneker, though that might have been because of lap traffic. But Bob is still hanging on to 5th position, and, you know, now it's dropped about 15 car lengths back in the third place battle between Jay Sauter and Brian Refner.
You also have to wonder sometimes when a car sputters like that, if it isn't just water in the fuel or something that momentarily causes the car to cough and sputter, run down a cylinder, maybe a piece of carbon getting stuck in between the electrodes of the spark plug and clears itself out. We'll have to keep an eye on Bob Seneker because he certainly isn't losing very much ground, if any at all, to Jay Sauter and Brian Refner running just in front of him.
You have to believe that if Brian Refner begins to put some heat on Jay Sauter, Jay will think twice about running him extremely hard. It could come back to haunt him in the future. He does not want to be a factor in the outcome of the points championship.
And all but forgotten while we watch this race here for third place. Up front it is Mike Eddy followed by Brad Loney. Those two, of course, having their set to earlier in the year and taking each other out of the race or going out of the race because they got together.
And look, you can see the front end of Bob Seneker's car number 84. He is closing again on Jay Sauter and Brian Refner. And I think it may be Jay is losing the handle just a bit in car number 1 as he's now a straightaway behind Mike Eddy and Brad Loney. By the way, up there, Loney's beginning to close in, so as soon as that tightens up, I'm sure we'll go back to the front. But right now, this battle for third and Bob Seneker closing in 5th, the best one to watch.
4 cars all in the lead lap. Involved right now is on the outside. It's trying to beat Brian Refner. He was waiting until that last 100. Well, he's a little early right now. We're at 270 into the race, 270 laps out of 400 to compete here at Toledo. A longer race than we had here in the spring. That race won by Mike Eddy.
You know, a lot of people have said to me, well, you guys should quit talking so much about Brian having been a rookie last year because he's a 30-year-old veteran short track stock car racer. But there's a big difference between running 30 and 40 and 50 lap features and running 300 and 400 lap races. It takes a completely different mindset. And what has been amazing to me is how Refner has matured in his driving strategy and style. At any given point in the race, he takes whatever the car and the competition will give him. He just does not put himself in, tenuous positions out on the racetrack, and that's why he's leading the points.
Mike Miller putting a move inside on Sauter. Sauter indeed may be losing a little bit of the handle on the number 1 car there. His machine apparently not as good as it had been earlier. The Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Oil Enders Tool Pontiac sliding backwards, losing a spot to Mike Miller in the number 18 car.
Still a long way to go. 272 of 400 laps completed. We will run to lap 400. One thing that has not come into play at all today is what's referred to as the competition yellow. Should we go for 100 laps uninterrupted green flag racing, we would see a mandatory caution that will not occur within the last 20 laps of the race. So if we don't see a yellow within the next 6 laps as we've completed lap number 274, we will not see one in the remainder of the afternoon.
Wonder and ye shall be enlightened if Ralph Shaheen is on the job. Ralph?
Mike Chappie is the crew chief for Jay Sauter. Mike, Bob Seneca seems to be reeling him in. What's wrong?
The Chappie's just a little bit off right now. I've been trying to talk to him, tell us what we need to do to fix it, but we're hoping we'll get a yellow flag, put some tires on.
That's Mike Chappie, crew chief for Jay Sauter. Looks like smoke may be coming out of our lead cars.
Well, actually, the second place car, number 33 of Brad Loney, a lot of smoke for a couple of laps, and now it seems to have diminished somewhat. So, again, we're going to kind of guess maybe a power steering pump going away for Brad Loney in that Winnebago Flex Steel Econo Foods machine. And we've got a spin coming out of turn number 2. It is Mike Miller. Let's see, the yellow is coming out of the start-finish line.
Caution flag. Miller looking a little bit loose there, actually just earlier, so this caution coming out will be a timely one for several drivers. And let's go now to Ralph Shaheen with perhaps some word on what was going on with Brad's car.
Kurt Beckler, what's the problem with your car? A lot of smoke.
It smells like the left front wheel bearing to him. We'll just see you take a look at it and see what the problem is.
Okay, well, he's on his way in here, so the crew is getting set. They're going to be changing the tires on the car. They'll lift it up in the air and get up on in there, see what we can figure out the problem is for the number 33 car of Brad Loney.
Well, Brad, I know, has one fan. You and I have to be totally objective and unbiased, but I introduced my dad to Brad Loney last year at a race in Louisville, and they became instant friends. It's kind of like a surrogate grandpa, and he sent a message to Brad this weekend. All we're asked is to do the best we can, and young Brad, if this is a serious problem for him, has sure given it a strong ride today.
A terrific run for the driver and the crew of the number 33 car there, the Winnebago Flex Steel Econo Foods entry. The fastest Chevrolet in ASA, perhaps having its troubles here. Mike Eddy in the number 88 GM Goodwrench Pontiac just continues to be the man. He has had his troubles over the course of this season. That's why he's no better than third in points. After winning the first 3 races of the year, Mike Eddy leading the next to last one. We'll be back.
What is it that makes virtual reality so real? Find out in Popular Science. What's it like to fly a classified F-117A fighter? Find out in Popular Science. Will hydrogen replace oil as the fuel of the 21st century? Find out in Popular Science. Where can you learn about the latest breakthroughs in high-tech products? Everything from the phone of the future to tires you can drive on even when they're flat. Find out in Popular Science, now at over 50% off with this special TV subscription offer. Call now, and as an extra bonus, get this powerful and practical mini flashlight free. Month after month, Popular Science sheds new light on what's new today and what tomorrow will look like in the world of science, computers, electronics, automobiles, and more. Call now to get 12 issues of Popular Science for just $13.94, more than half off the newsstand price. Plus this practical mini flashlight free with your paid subscription. Call now.
Hear all of baseball's news straight from the source. Old-timers, all-stars, and celebrities all get a say when Ed's the host and you're talking baseball.
Ed Randall's Talking Baseball. Hear the chatter every week on this regional sports network.
The latest caution here at Toledo Speedway has shuffled things up just a little bit. The new leader is points leader Brian Refner. In second spot, Tom Jones continuing a march to the front from 27th. And in third spot, it is Joe Knott. There's Brad Loney's entry, and Ralph Shaheen is down there with some more information on what was wrong.
Ryan, you heard Kurt Beckler say he thought it was wheel bearing? Well, that's not the problem. Then they figured out that it was power steering, but they got another problem. They took the right front off. They thought they had a lot of grease. No, they got a lot of oil inside this right front tire. Hot oil, I can tell you that much. So they've got another problem inside the front of the car of Brad Loney.
That does not bode well for the man who had been running in second spot. Here's Bob Seneker and their crew working quickly on the 84 car to get him in and out. A lot of guys coming in to take tires. The caution precipitated by a little spin, a little chirp spin. Mike Miller there didn't hit anything, didn't touch anybody, just got loose. He was loose earlier, and apparently that's what's happened. Behind the wall, here you can see the attrition has taken its toll on a number of drivers, most dramatically, of course, the 75 of Dennis Berry.
Dale Conley, Ed Cooper, Matt Hutter, who was out very, very early, and Canadian Donnie Varco. Meanwhile, the new leader, there he is, just one car behind the pace car. The yellow nose is on the machine of Cindy Peterson, and right behind her is the new race leader, car number 5, Brian Refner. And he absolutely stayed on the racetrack to make sure he'd lead at least one lap today and not give up any unnecessary points to Mike Eddy. That was the first lap he had led today. That's 5 bonus points. So Refner's going to need another caution. With 282 laps to go, I would say, Brian, all the drivers who came in under this caution set to go to the finish. Those who elected to stay out, including leader Brian Refner, second Tom Jones, third Joe Knott, and fourth Kenny Irwin, may need another pit stop.
They could be in trouble indeed. A very timely caution flag for drivers that did come in to change tires. We would have to keep our eyes then on the Bob Senekers, Mike Millers, etc. of this race, who will be heading for the front shortly as fresh tires become more of a factor. We are 283 laps into this race. Just over 100 laps remain. Now is when we would expect things to get very interesting, and this latest pit stop has already provided just a peek into what the last 100 laps of this race are likely to be like.
No lap cars separating the top 4, beginning with Refner going through Jones, Knott, and Irwin. In 5th position now is car number 51, the rookie Brandon Sperling. Jay Sauter is 6th, Mike Eddy 7th, and Brad Loney 8th. Of course, Sauter, Eddy, and Loney all came on pit road under this most recent caution.
And Loney exhibiting more than a few symptoms of some potentially serious mechanical problems. So we'll continue to watch the number 33 car for signs of termination out there. But for now, Brad Loney and the Winnebago Flex Steel Econo Foods number 33 Chevrolet are still out there and digging.
He is. He's glued right to the back bumper of Mike Eddy. As we go back to the front now, Joe Knott was challenging the number 0 of Tom Jones for second position. And who is this kid, Kenny Irwin? And now look, he's reeled in the second and third place cars and is really aggressively challenging Joe Knott for third.
Leader Brian Refner doing nothing to damage his chances of taking a championship in just his sophomore season. We talked earlier about how at age 30 he was already a veteran short track driver, but how different it was to come to the American Speed Association and its endurance races, you might say. Oh, we got another spin down there in the grass. Cindy Peterson backs it up onto the track. Apparently everybody got by, but Cindy, with another little excursion into the grass there, got loose and down on the inside, backed it up onto the track, but fortunately no one got into her.
Question, will Brian Refner, do you think, come on pit road now?
I would say he would have to. I mean, he can't give up fresh tires to the rest of the field out there for 111 more laps. And getting back to my point that not only are these longer races, and that Brian Refner, used to running short distance on short tracks, also had to go to the Milwaukee Mile, had to go to 2 road courses this year, and through all of that, through thick and thin, he has remained atop or at or near the top of the point standings, and in fact, the leader in the last half of the season.
See if we can determine what happened to bring out the most recent caution. There's Cindy Peterson down low, and those are lead lap cars. To the outside is Brandon Sperling. Behind him is Jay Sauter, and then Mike Eddy. Is this where it happens? Sperling comes down a little bit, it looks like, and the two make contact. Whether Cindy moved up or Brandon moved down, I think what might have happened is Brandon got really close to the wall and then very quickly, thinking he might hit it, pulled it off the wall, and gentle contact in between him and Cindy.
Well, I have another possibility.
Okay.
It looked like a little chirp of smoke there off the right front. It could be that Cindy, getting into 3 there, decided to back it out. Might have touched the brakes a little too hard. Tom Jones is in there. Let's go to Ralph.
Les Bach is the crew chief for Brian Refner. Les, how long can you stay out there?
Well, we got gas to go to the end, you know, and tires will have a couple hundred laps on the right sides at the end. Mike Eddy won the race last time in the spring doing that, and you know, maybe we're going to bring him in, but we had lost radio contact there on that last opportunity to pit when everyone else came in. So I guess our decision on that was maybe kind of determined by a higher authority.
So it's lap 291 right now, so you're going to run it all the way to the end and hope it works?
Yeah, we're going to try to take it to the end now.
Oh boy, that's a big gamble with the championship on the line.
You talk about these long races playing into the hands of the veterans. Look at the top three on the racetrack right now as they stay behind the pace car. Brian Reffner leading the points as a second-year driver. One career victory, and that came earlier this year at Anderson Speedway. There's the number 48 Valvoline machine of Joe Knott. Never won a race, and then, of course, Kenny Irwin just running 2 or 3 times this season. He's never won an ASA race.
Well, fortunately for Brian Reffner and his crew, they have the luxury of almost a 100-point lead to be able to say, well, we can run to the end. That is not going to be a critical problem. If Brian Reffner can just hang on, ride around, and finish within a few positions of Mike Eddy, his losses will be minimal. And that is assuming, of course, that Mike Eddy's able to run to the end and win or finish ahead of Brian Reffner. So Reffner's really mitigating his chances of losing the championship by just staying out there, whereas he could lose a lot of positions on the racetrack by coming in. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen with Chris Bradley.
Well, Chris, do you keep Joey Knott out there all the way now?
Yeah, we're out to stay. The car's still working real well. Track position's so important here. Hopefully we just get the Valvoline Ford past Brian and go for the win.
How many laps do you have on your tires right now?
We've got 40 on our right sides. We can go to the end.
Well, one driver who elected to come on pit road, a lead lap car, the rookie Brandon Sperling, brought the Ultra Custom Wheels Baja Ministries Chevy in, and he now is set to go to the finish, but he better hustle. We're ready to go back to green, and he's about a half lap behind the leaders.
Right on the tail end of the field, and going past once again Glenn Allen's very ill machine. Glenn Allen just riding around out there trying to minimize his losses as well. I would have to say that hope of a championship would depend a lot on divine intervention at this point for Glenn Allen, but it is very much a real situation between Brian Reffner and Mike Eddy.
Now, Glenn Allen, by the way, 72 laps down with intermittent electrical problems all day in 28th position.
Fourth place battle now between Jay Sauter, number 1, and number 88, Mike Eddy. He's coming. There's Brad Loney. The apparently serious mechanical problems certainly have not manifested themselves in any way that will take him out of the race. Brad Loney continues to be competitive there in spite of all the evidence displayed by Ralph Shaheen that he could have some problems.
And he has not shown any evidence of that smoke that was plaguing him just before he came on pit road under caution about 20 laps ago.
So apparently whatever caused the smoke was a sudden and very dramatic death of a small and non-essential part, and Brad Loney just stays out there.
Here it is, first, second, and third. Brian Reffner in his second season. Joey Knott, who's going to celebrate a 23rd birthday very soon, joined ASA a few seasons ago as a teenager, and we've had a change in fourth position, and it's a good wrench Pontiac of Mike Eddy dispatching with the like brand machine, the Trombardic Pontiac of Jay Sauter.
Mike Eddy with brand new tires. Well, we've checked in with the crews of virtually all of the leaders. We'll continue to do so. Here's Ralph Shaheen again.
With Bill McGowan, crew chief for Kenny Irwin. Bill, you got a rookie driver out there who's standing in contention to win his first ASA race. What's your strategy now?
Well, we got pretty good tires on right now, so we're going to take what we got to the end. This is a real pleasant surprise.
How many laps do you have on your tires?
Got about 35 laps on them, so it'll be close to the end, but I think we'll be all right.
So just about everybody up in the top group there, Rob and Brian, have just about the same amount of laps.
We're officially in the fourth quarter of the Toledo 400 right now. 100 laps to go. Make that 99. Kenny Irwin Jr. on the racetrack, a rookie driver. We've already had one rookie driver win his first ASA race this year, and that was Bobby Gill. Of course, what a run he had at the Minnesota State Fair.
That was awesome.
And he goes from winning a race to 2 races later, he's not even here. So, I mean, fortunes can certainly take a strange twist, as they have here on the racetrack today. Glenn Allen Jr. started on the pole, immediately went in the plumbing with mechanical problems that continue to plague him. Scott Hansen with trouble down laps. Tony Raines, one of the points leaders, down laps already. And so, well, there are some out there. Let's deal with the living, and the guys that are making this race very much alive. Mike Eddy moving up from the back with fresh tires. Jay Sauter, Brad Loney, some young guys up front. 5th and 6th right now, and you're looking at another good race on the track, and good races all over the track right now.
We've had Brian in the first 3 quarters of this race, 11 lead changes among 9 different drivers, and this is the best battle. This is 5th and 6th position. Brad Loney did lead a lot of laps in this race. Jay Sutter has not set the pace yet, and Joe Knott in car number 48 trying to become the 10th different driver to lead the event here this afternoon. And since we've gone back to green, he has given up no quarter to Brian Refner, nor has he really been able to challenge. The deficit has remained about a half a car length to a car length and a half.
Well, the round robin of crew chief visits continues. None would be complete without a stop at the 88 pit, Ralph.
Howard Thomas, of course. And Howard just spilled the soda. You spilled your soda, but your car's running pretty good. Howard, how's it handling?
Yeah, the car's excellent today. You know, Mike's doing a good job. We're having good pit stops. We're just tickled to death. I hope everything carries on to the end.
Well, I know you're a stagger guy. What was the stagger on that Sprite can you just tipped?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said you're a stagger kind of guy. What was the stagger on that Sprite can you just tipped?
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Hopefully his race car will run a little better.
Usually Ralph asks really good questions. That one was a little too tough even for Howdy Thomas.
Well, that Sprite can took a hard left turn down Howard's arm, apparently, so we'll check on that stagger situation a little bit and follow up on Ralph, but he's still making the rounds down there. We got a lot of racing yet to go here. We're 91 laps to go, to be exact, and we'll keep you posted on the countdown because this is when everything that counts is going to happen.
Boy, this has been a great battle over the last 5 or 6 laps. Mike Eddy, once he got around Jay Sauter, quickly was able to catch Kenny Irwin, but amazingly has not been able to make the pass. And Irwin has fended him off. Now, meanwhile, they have fallen about a third of a straightaway back of the leader, Brian Refner. Eddie knows he's got time. We probably will see at least one more caution, 90 laps to go. He's got a wild card in front of him. He really doesn't know what to expect closing up on Kenny Irwin, and he's got to be wondering, wait a minute, is this really a guy that's never raced in ASA before the 1995 season and only a couple of times this year? Kenny Irwin just doing a masterful job here today.
All right, I'm immediately curious why you say that we are surely going to have another caution. Do you know something I don't? Give me some hard facts that lead you to believe that.
Ooh, history at Toledo Speedway.
Law of averages.
Stranger things have happened here, and if we go the distance, you know, it's going to be really hard for Mike now to catch Brian Refner and Joe Knott. He is all kinds of sideways as he's challenging for third.
We'll watch him while you're away.
Welcome to a new way to communicate, a new source of news, information, and software available through your computer 24 hours a day. This is the official America Online Tour.
Let me show you how America Online really works. You just point and click.
You've got mail.
Hey, I've got mail.
You can send and receive email even across the internet.
I've done that. Really?
Scan the latest headline. Browse Time Magazine. Find out what's on TV with ABC Online. Look up facts in Compton's Encyclopedia. You can even explore the Smithsonian right on your computer.
My son gets help with his homework.
Call now for your free trial. You'll get free software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. America Online. It's knowledge. It's powerful.
And?
Okay, it's fun.
Call now for a no-obligation free trial of America Online. You'll get free startup software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. Call now, 1-800-537-0300.
I'm Jack Nicklaus, and I've just joined Golf Magazine as special contributor. You can join Golf Magazine, too.
Call now for Golf Magazine, and you'll also get absolutely free Jack's video playing the percentages, an insider's guide to improving your game. Jack, it's great to have you on the Golf Magazine team. Where should we look for you in upcoming issues?
Where else? The golf course.
Welcome back to the Toledo Speedway. We're in the last 80 laps or so of this race. Brian Refner, Joe Knott up front. Mike Eddy on the move has passed Kenny Irwin Jr. and is heading towards the lead duo. Also running with the leaders, number 53, Scott Hansen, is in fact 30 laps down, but he's running right with him. He's got a fast race car once they fix what was wrong with it.
And just a couple of laps ago, Mike Eddy was having all kinds of trouble just keeping pace with Kenny Irwin. Dropped back a couple of car lengths, I think probably to let the tires cool down, and then took a hard run down low. and was able to make the pass. So it's now Eddie to third position as he will try to reel in the front runners, Brian Refner and Joe Knott, and he's got about a half straightaway deficit to make up.
Mike Eddy, once again, one of those drivers with the fresher tires. Went in under the most recent caution, just over 100 laps from the finish of the race, whereas Refner and Joe Knott are on tires that are at least 30, 40, 50 laps older than those of Mike Eddy. So we are seeing a tire situation beginning to play itself out. Will the finish line and the checkered flag come before the tires begin to go away, or will the tires last till the end? We just have to keep watching.
And suddenly Refner seems to be pulling a couple of car lengths coming off turns 2 and 4 on Joe Knott. Now watch, there he's got a little advantage, but Joe runs into turns 1 and 3 very, very strongly. Everybody's always said that Toledo is kind of a compromise setup. Both ends of the track are significantly different from each other, and a car either tends to work very well coming off the corners or going in, but not both.
Tough setup, tough old racetrack here at the Toledo Speedway. This is the 11th time the American Speed Association has visited this track. The second time this year. We were here, I should say, twice in 1994 as well, and they have all been thrillers. We would expect no different. A battle for 6th place now is, or 7th place actually, among 3 cars. It is Gary St. Amant, Mike Eddy, and Brad Loney without Smoke. And these 3 guys going at it for position on the track.
I think Loney may have a problem. It may be the result of something that we saw earlier. Look, the car continues to handle at the bottom of the racetrack, and he may have dropped a cylinder. I don't know. 12 cars were still showing on the lead lap.
Both St. Amant and Mike Miller came in under the most recent caution, so they, like Mike Eddy, have the fresh tires. This at 320 laps was 6 laps ago, so the order has changed slightly among those drivers racing for 6th. There we see Ted Smokestat still hanging in the top 15. Rick Beebe, the rookie points leader, shown in 19th place right now, so we're trying to give you a look deeper into the field and where some of these drivers are who are significant in the outcome of the season. Smokestat, of course, with a terrific qualifying effort for the rookie driver in the Super America Red Dog Beer Chevrolet. He started 12th, shown in 15th. He had been up very high in the standings. And of course, Rick Beebe in the number 6 machine, that of the Engine Armor Chevrolet, the leading rookie contender. If he can just run steady, run strong, he's got 1 race left, and he'll take the rookie title.
Just been handed a note by the elder statesman, elder sibling, if you will, of the Know-It-All brothers, also known as Craig Miller, but less and less so as time progresses. He just made mention of the fact that in the top 5 in the running order, a collective total of 54 career wins. Here's how it shakes out. No wins for Kenny Irwin or Joe Knott. 1 each for car number 1, Jay Sauter, and Brian Refner, and 52 victories for third place car number 88, Mike Eddy. And Eddy has not been, we're watching this battle here for 6th, 7th, and 8th, but Mike Eddy has not been able to shake Kenny Irwin after getting him vying for third position.
Well, on paper, that's a lopsided battle, what you'd call an unfair fight. You'd think that a couple of guys, or as you say, among the top 5, 4 drivers with 2 wins going against 1 guy with 52 wins would be a little bit like the old bringing a knife to a gunfight, but that has not been the case here today nor throughout the season, as Brian Refner has given up nothing to Mike Eddy. In fact, has led as much of the points during the season as Eddy has. And then we're looking at really the revelation of this race, Kenny Irwin Jr. Now we're looking at number 22, J.D. Summers' car coming to a very slow crawl directly under the flag stand. And your prediction of another caution flag has come true. It is waving, and here we are at 67 laps to go.
And he was on the lead lap motioning to try to get down off the banking and onto pit road. Was not able to do it before Mike Dimmitt found it necessary to wave the yellow caution flag. Now it's crunch time. If you're a lead lap car, do you stay out or do you come in? If you're Brian Refner or Joe Knott up front, you have no choice. You got to stay out there. But if you're near the tail of the lead lap, who knows what fresh right side tires might do for you. And it looks like Mike Eddy and Kenny Irwin, or at least Mike Eddy, is going to come on pit road. We've questioned this strategy before. I'll never question Mike Eddy's strategy.
Well, you had said, though, he was a little bit loose out there, and then he slowed down a little bit, perhaps to let the tires cool, made a desperate run. Now that the caution has come out, he has decided to go in, and it is pretty tough to question a guy that's won 7 championships and 52 races, especially in strategy department. He's the guy that calls the shots. Ralph Shaheen can go over and talk to Howard Thomas or anybody else on Mike Eddy's crew, but They're only going to tell you what Mike's calling for.
I'll tell you what I think is really going to be the telling factor as to whether or not this is a smart move is how many other cars come in with him. Because if he comes in, has a good pit stop, and 20 other cars come on pit road, that's going to put him in a really strong position. He won't have a lot of people to pass. But if it's only him and Brad Loney coming on pit road, it'll be tough. But I see a whole string of cars behind him.
Brad Loney being one of them. Refner apparently is going to stay out, as is Joe Knott. And then we'll just have to see who else decides to come in. Here comes Mike Eddy. There goes Brad Loney in. Eddy pitted very near the entrance to the pit road. Loney has to go around to the other end. And, well, Rick Beebe comes in, and pretty much everybody else is out. Ralph Shaheen is in the Mike Eddy pit.
Well, he's taking tires on the left side of the car now. He'd already changed right side tires, so this should give him fresh tires all the way around. And you know what, Rob? He's got 65 laps to get all the way around and back up to the front. For Mike Eddy, 65 laps is an eternity. I don't care if we had 80 cars out on the racetrack. He can make that up, no problem.
Yeah, I'd say that is a distinct possibility, but lead lap cars who did not come in include the leader Brian Refner, Joe Knott, third place Kenny Irwin, the fourth running Jay Sauter, Gary St. Amant fifth, the sixth place car number 18 of Mike Miller, all stayed out on the racetrack, as well as the seventh running Bob Seneca in car number 84. So yes, he can do it. He may need another caution, but you know, if anybody can run down the leader, it's going to be the number 88. Brad Loney's going to try to chase him through the field.
Could we have shades of a Bristol race with a black Goodwrench car coming through the field like a balloon with air coming out of it here today? Well, we don't know, but we're looking at a little over 60 laps to the finish of this one, and Mike Eddy at the tail end of the field along with Brad Loney. And we're very definitely going to keep an eye on the number 88 car because he needs to win this race or finish as high as possible. Brian Refner, the current leader, that's very simply the battle right there. Let's go back to Ralph Shaheen with the crew chief down there for Mike Eddy.
Well, Howard, that should give you fresh tires all the way around the car. Is that correct?
Yeah, it should. We got a little off on the split that time, and the car wasn't near as good. Hopefully we get it back.
So this will balance you back out with stagger again?
Should.
I hope it's better than that Sprite can.
Yeah, right. Me too.
Ralph won't leave, though. He gets somebody down, he just stomps on him.
I'll tell you, but Mike Eddy now and Brad Loney, the only two, you might say, significantly lead cars that went into the pit that time. Now the two of them were at the tail end. And, of course, it remains a little bit of a mystery, really, exactly what Brad Loney's problem was, and I emphasize the word was because his car continues to run well, and he went in and apparently just made a tire change and wants to run with the master, Mike Eddy, towards the front in the closing 60 laps of this race.
7 cars came on pit road. Mike Eddy, Brad Loney, the number 98 of Kent Stauffer, who's being shown 6 laps down, not having a particularly good afternoon. 2 cars 1 lap off the pace. Rookies Rick Miller and Ted Smokestat, Tom Jones, who ran so well in the first half of this race, came on pit road, as did Rick Beebe, now showing 4 laps down. J.D. Summers, what a great run this rookie had. He was on the lead lap, and now his day is done in car number 22.
Well, one thing that jumps out very quickly out of those cars that came in is that Rick Miller, who's only down 1 lap, and Rick Beebe down 4, Rick Miller will be able to make up some points in that rookie battle. So Beebe's fears of, in spite of his 160-plus point lead, may in fact not be that great when he gets to Jennerstown. He might have to run hard for it.
Going back to green, who's going to win this thing, Brian?
Oh, I don't care who wins. I want to watch Mike Eddy coming up from the back. If, as Howard says, they got it right or got it better, he'll be heading towards the front. 60 laps to go on the nose. And Brian Refner, the points leader, the sophomore driver who has been nothing short of a sensation all season long, has jumped out to an early lead. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen with J.D. Summers' car that's in the pits.
Well, J.D., a lot of smoke on the right side. What was wrong?
We broke the right front caliper and broke the brake rotor right on.
So he's out of it.
J.D. Summers, once again, so fast in every race that he has started and run in, but then something takes him out of contention late, and that's exactly what's happened here again. Jay Sauter moving inside of Joe Knott there to take over second place, or third place.
Just an incredible performance by Kenny Irwin. Here's the battle now for third position as Joe Knott, suddenly the handle has gone away on car number 48, and Jay Sauter has moved into third position.
See Gary St. Amant and Mike Miller showing up in the picture now too, so the race for third is really going to get a little hot and heavy here. The 2 leaders, Brian Refner and Kenny Irwin Jr. running out front. And Well, I should say Joe Knott's car definitely a little loose there as he came by our position.
I'll tell you a little secret, Brian. 88. I mean, he is screaming up through the field. Let's not watch him. Let's watch this battle for position, because soon enough he's going to be in the middle of it.
Oh, there he is. We just got a glimpse of him, and he has indeed shot through about half the field. Mike Eddy and Bob Seneker shaping up for another, and we got a massive dusty spin down in turn number 1. We cannot really even see what the okay, it's the 26 of Bill Baird getting down low, kicking up some dust apparently, and also apparently Rick Miller and Eddie Sharp involved down there. Here is Rick Miller's car, and that's not normal right there. You can put that at the top of the list of things you don't want to see when the wheel's going around and the tire's not. And here's Eddie Sharp getting ready to climb out of the number 50 car. Kind of an up and down day for him.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, when you have a good run going, you've been on the lead lap for so long, and then to have that extended stay on pit road to repair and replace that broken shock, so many times you see a driver come back out and then be involved in something pretty significant on the racetrack.
Ralph Shaheen is with Rick Miller right now.
Well, you can see the right front tire, or the left front tire is just broken right off of the suspension components. They're telling them to shut it off. We'll be able to stick our head in here and see if we can get a good look at it. They're going to try and yank it off. Rick wants them to at least take the tire off, see if they can figure out the problem, but I don't think this one is going anywhere. See if he shuts the car off here in a second as they get ready to pull the tire off. We'll see all the damage inside there. And it does not look good. They're going to make him shut the motor off here in a second, and we'll see if we can talk to Rick and figure out what happened out there. He's frustrated and just does not want to stop. Now he shuts the motor off. We'll see if he'll talk to us. Rick, can you tell me what happened out there?
Well, the lap cars, we were having trouble with lap cars all day long. The guys wouldn't give us, you know, nobody no racing room, and they just all run into each other. And it's a shame. The Strudhound Chevy was running good, but yeah, the lap cars got to give us guys some respect a little bit. You know, we might be all some of us rookies, but hey, we're running pretty good.
Rick Miller, let's see if we can catch up with Eddie Sharp.
And a valid point I thought that Rick had. He has been running well.
Well, apparently Tom Jones also involved. His car shedding a few more parts and pieces there. Eddie Sharp, very upset. We saw him earlier. He was pointing to somebody out there saying, "You turned me around," or "You turned me," I think is what I read on his lips, and he's still pacing around down there pretty upset. He had a great run going. A little bit of mechanical trouble that he was able to get fixed, but once again running well on the racetrack, and now he's a pedestrian.
And you know, when you pay all of your own bills like Eddie Sharp and the Sharp Racing team does, it just, you know, it exacerbates the problem. It takes something that's, you know, okay, we'll come back next week, and magnifies it significantly.
Well, two things really quick come to mind now as we concentrate back on the race again. We're ticking laps off under caution here. We're down to 52 laps to go, and the caution has tightened up the field. Let's go to Ralph with Eddie Sharp.
Eddie, what happened?
Oh, well, this isn't the way I wanted to talk to you. You know, we had a good race car. We got some laps down. We got took out by a lap car earlier. Things were going pretty good. We're about 7 laps down. We were getting out of the way. We just wanted to finish. I don't know why, but somebody has ran out of patience. It's near the end. It's the last 2 races of the season. They just picked me up, and I just got took out.
Rick Miller was talking about lap cars getting in the way. Did you have that problem here today?
Yeah. I mean, when we were on the lead lap, I had the problems. That's why I was trying to repay the favor once we had our problem, because it's, you know, no sense in it. And, you know, I've been good all year about it, and you hope to get a little payback once in a while and a little help, and I don't believe it. I mean, he's a good friend of mine. I don't believe it.
I'll tell you, you start to eliminate suspects, but I still don't know who he's talking about. Do you? And we saw him gesturing pretty animated a little bit ago, but we didn't get to see who he was pointing at.
An unnamed culprit is the object of this man's unhappiness. 50 laps to go in Toledo.
Wynn's Extend Supreme Plus is a patented oil supplement especially formulated for today's high-tech engines. Extend helps increase oil life, combats engine wear, and reduces oil oxidation. So next time and every time you have your oil changed, ask for Extend, the supplement that will not void manufacturer's warranties and comes with its own 100,000-mile warranty. Extend Supreme Plus, a Wynn Oil Company product since 1939. Available at your quality service facility, including Firestone, Goodyear, and Grease Monkeys.
If you settle for a remanufactured engine without a brand name, be sure you've got a pair of name brand shoes. AC-Delco engines, the national brand name with the nationwide warranty. Call for a location near you. Of course, if you come in on foot, we'll understand.
Power up with a power-engineered system from Competition Cam. Matching components for peak horsepower. Cams, lifters, springs, valves, rockers, timing sets, and push rods. An unbeatable system. Power-engineered components produce outstanding power and outstanding torque. Cam Help is your toll-free link to the Competition Cam's technical department. Call 1-800-999-0853. You can't beat a power-engineered system from Competition Cam.
For the record, 47 laps to go. We're still under caution here as the crew continues to clean up the racetrack there under our latest caution. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen once again.
The problem for Joe Knott, the number 48, as we get set for another restart, is that the carburetor tends to load up under yellow. And it takes it a couple laps to blow it all out and get back to a position where he can go racing with it. So that's how he lost those two positions early on at the last restart. And now with another one, Joey Knott can slip back another 1 or 2 slots.
Got to ask you, Rob, you think that's a function of the larger carburetor they're allowed to run on the Ford engine there? I mean, is it...
Guess what? I don't think they're allowed to run that larger carburetor anymore. I think that advantage was taken away from them this season. Yeah, I don't think that really has anything to do with it. As Brian Repner leads it back down to the green flag one more time with 8 cars on the lead lap behind Repner. It is Kenny Irwin. Yes, Kenny Irwin in second position. Joe Knott third. Jay Sauter fourth, Mike Miller fifth, Mike Eddy sixth, Bob Seneca seventh, and Brad Loney in 8th position.
Just saw real quick, if we can take a look, Miller working on Joe Knott there. Apparently Joe's car was a little bit slow on the restart because Miller ran right up behind him because and that can only be because Joe just wasn't going into the turn as fast as Mike Miller expected him to. Now they've kind of settled down a little bit and going around the outside. There's that flag number 88. He's already made his way. Now we've got another caution flag out. Must be some debris on the track or something at this point because we do not see any incident. But out comes the caution once again.
And by the way, I did not mention Gary St. Amant, who came in under this last caution. He is the last car on the lead lap being shown in 9th position. Looks like he's going to come in again. I wonder who else will.
Looks like Dave Sensiba lining up to come in. And a couple of others. 2 quick cautions back-to-back. 44 laps to go right now. And there is the offending debris. That is that looks like a tie-down strap of some kind.
And
those things you use to hold the luggage on the roof of your car.
St. Amant changed his mind. We're very quickly going back to green as Mike Dimmitt signals with a single furled green flag. Next time by, we'll again go back to green, and Brian Repner is probably going, oh, come on, just a few more laps under yellow.
Every lap that ticks by under caution just gets him that much closer to a championship here in the American Speed Association. He'll have all of the laps, of course, in Jennerstown to contend with Mike Eddy, but with only one race left after this one, the number of points available to overtake him goes down dramatically. Ted Smokestat coming out of the entrance to pit road there, quickly down to the bottom. Brian Repner works over the top. Mike Miller able to jump underneath of Joe Knott, and Mike Eddy trying to do the same. Kenny Irwin Jr. pinches down on Miller there. And Eddy is underneath Joe Knott as well. So 2 spots lost quickly on the restart as we were warned about the possibility. It's come to be believed.
And Jay Sauter has taken second position away from Kenny Irwin. Irwin is third and squeezes Mike Miller up to the high side of the racetrack. And Mike Eddy, while Miller was battling the outside retaining wall, moves underneath and picks up yet another spot.
That's that open wheel thing. Boy, he's pretty fearless out there. Kenny Irwin in close quarters doesn't have any problem whatsoever with knowing where everybody is around him. And that's got to be a lot of that open wheel racing where everybody's rubbing and bumping on each other all the time. But Brian Reffner just rises above and stays calm, cool, collected, steady, looking good for perhaps a second win here as the laps continue to tick down. 39 laps to go for Brian Reffner, stretching a lead over second place Jay Sauter and third place Kenny Irwin Jr.
And Mike Eddy was squeezed to the top of the racetrack. He was underneath Kenny Irwin, but Kenny using the lap car of Ted Smokestat to maintain that third position. And Eddie's going to have to wait a while to challenge for the lead. 362 and 400 laps complete, 38 to go. Brian Reffner stretching it out now to about 12 car lengths over Jay Sauter, who runs second, but they're separated by the lap car number 53, the laps down car. He's at speed, but laps down of Scott Hansen.
Bob Seneker also about to appear at the rear bumper of Mike Eddy as Eddy continues to work on Kenny Irwin Jr. and Jay Sauter feeling the heat from behind. All of this plays into the advantage of Brian Reffner. Running clean out front, only Scott Hansen to worry about, and Scott is not going to race hard because, as you said, he's 30 laps down. He's not going to be giving Brian Reffner any trouble out there. In fact, he's kind of a rolling pick right now.
Just at that time into turn number 3, it looked like Mike Eddy was going to be able to stick the nose of car number 88 beneath Kenny Irwin, and Irwin just barreled into that third corner, and Eddy had no choice but to get out of the throttle. Again, he'll try it, and no. Kenny goes to the bottom side. Mike quickly darts up to the top of the racetrack.
Mike Eddy working Kenny Irwin Jr., you might say. Irwin fighting him off, but I got to tell you, I believe that Mike Eddy is just showing him that high side, showing him the low side, trying to make him figure out where he's coming from, and he will get a nose under or over one way or the other.
Every unsuccessful attempt to get around a car in front of him for Mike Eddy means that his pressure tire advantage gets reduced each time by. Brian Reffner has nobody to contend with out there. He can run a nice, smooth, safe line. He doesn't have to tax the tires. Mike Eddy, on the other hand, really has to overdrive car number 88.
Well, Bob Seneker has now slipped back. Mike Miller has moved up to the spot behind Mike Eddy now. So while Seneker looked like he was making the advances, now it's in fact Miller who's jumped up behind Mike Eddy. So late in the race here, some of these KG veterans are all battling for position, but they're doing it behind a couple of young drivers, Brian Reffner and Kenny Irwin Jr.
Jay Sauter is second, Irwin is third, Eddy is fourth, Mike Miller fifth, and challenging Eddy. Sixth is Brad Loney, seventh is Bob Seneker, eighth is Joe Knott.
No, he didn't. I thought he got under him there. It looked like Kenny Irwin got a little bit loose. You got to remember, back in the spring race now, Mike Miller sat on the pole and finished second to Mike Eddy. Deja vu all over again. Well, they've got two guys out in front.
30 laps to go. You see the graphic. You can see now the gap between Brian Reffner and Jay Sauter. And Mike Eddy's charge to the front has subsided for the time being.
A lot of racing here. 29 laps to go. It sounds like a lot of laps when you break it down to the fact that it's only less than 15 miles. A lot can happen in that short of a distance. But every lap that ticks down just is in Brian Reffner's favor.
9 cars still on the lead lap, but it's really, as far as I'm concerned, boiled down to about a 5-car show. It is Brian Reffner's race to win at this point, Brian. As these cars battle for second position, he and his jam car, Scott Hansen, who runs right behind him, continue to stretch it out over the second place car of Sauter, but maybe not for long. Kenny Irwin goes to the low side.
Kenny Irwin under Jay Sauter. Mike Eddy also goes under Sauter, and we'll see if his move is successful. And Mike Miller darts through on the inside. Sauter caught in that revolving door on the high side of the racetrack, loses 3 spots just like that. All that it's done is moved those 3 guys up a notch, and Jay Sauter shuffling towards the back also lost a position to Brad Loney. The 33 car is still running strong.
You know what's hurting Mike Eddy as much as anything? He can't just worry about Kenny Irwin. He's got to contend with Mike Miller, because if he slips or makes the wrong decision as to where to go, should he try the high side of Irwin, guess what? Veteran Mike Miller's going to go down low.
Well, you're talking about a race between Mike Eddy and Mike Miller for the final spot on the podium right now. Leader is Brian Reffner. Second is Kenny Irwin Jr. That's the race we're looking at, I should say, the race for second. There's Reffner just disappearing there in his PMW entry. Structural Transport Ford, sponsored by PMW, the points leader.
To have any shot at a win, I think Mike Eddy needs to get around Kenny Irwin under green and then hope for one more caution. We've seen fate fall in his favor so many times over his illustrious racing career, but I don't know. it has been Brian Reffner's year from the first green flag of the season. His bad tracks as a rookie and become his better tracks this year as a second-year driver. He just does not make mistakes.
Kenny Irwin Jr. making very few, if any, mistakes as well and trying to hold off the charge of Mike Eddy and Mike Miller. We are 12 laps to go right now from the 22 laps. Make that 22 laps to go from the finish of this race. And of course, regardless of how many caution flags come out, we will race 5 laps to the checkered flag at the end of this race.
There was a rookie last year that ran so well here at Toledo, almost won the race after getting tangled up with Jay Sauter a couple of laps to go in that event, and that, of course, was Dave Sensiba. Dave has helped Kenny Irwin as a teammate with his setups for this weekend, so I'm sure when this is all said and done, Kenny's able to survive this war with Mike Eddy to the checkered flag. He's not only going to say thank you to Mike Eddy for not turning him around, he's going to say thank you to Dave Sensiba for all of his help in getting this car dialed in.
Just a terrific race going on here. Mike Miller backing off a little bit, or are the other two pulling away? I don't know. As hard as these two guys are going after each other, Miller might be just deciding to give himself a little bit of breathing room, thinking that maybe both of them will be out of his way. And in just a few moments.
Look at this. Mike Eddy trying to use lap traffic. He'll not get it done. He's boxed in behind Cindy Peterson. Can Mike Miller make the move to the outside? No, as Eddy scoots up in between.
Terrific racing here for second place on the racetrack. Brian Refner just stretching his advantage out. They do seem to be closing just a little bit, but
which is
easing off.
Stretching his advantage out, closing just a little bit. I know it comes and goes, right?
It sure does. Brian Refner just seems to be able to do it at will out there.
We quit watching him, and you're right. It does look now like that Kenny Irwin and Mike Eddy, maybe racing so hard for position, are just overdriving or outdriving Brian Refner. Now just 17 laps to go, and Refner that time coming off turn number 4, Brian, was a little bit sideways. The tail was awfully wide coming off that 4th corner. He's just got to hang tight now for another 16 laps. He does have the oldest tires among all of the top lead lap 9 automobiles.
That's exactly right. He's backing it off a little bit, not because he wants to, but maybe because he has to. Brian Refner, leader on the racetrack, points leader for the season, championship hopeful, and his hopes are very much alive right now. 15 laps remain.
You don't suppose he sent a crew member over to Scott Hansen's team and said, I'll buy dinner tonight if you'll just kind of keep that gap between me and those Chargers behind you.
Let's go to Ralph Shaheen for some late race thoughts on Brian Refner.
Well, just a quick update. They are running the 750 carburetors on the Fords at the short track. So Brian Refner does have the bigger carburetor over the Chevys and the Pontiacs that are chasing him.
Okay, I was wrong.
I knew that they had, I thought I knew anyway, that they made them equal on the longer tracks and on the road courses, but not on the short track. So that was by way of explaining Joe Knott's problems on the restart. Joe Knott, by the way, has slid back quite a few positions now, and the race is really for second place. And they have very definitely closed on Brian Refner right now. The jam car, as we have put it, of Scott Hansen isn't going to do much good much longer because number 40, Kenny Irwin Jr. has closed the gap.
You know, before they got into this traffic, Irwin was, in fact, moving away a little bit from Mike Eddy. He'd stretched it out to a couple of car lengths. Now they've got to contend with Scott Hansen. What will Scott do, Brian? Do you think he's going to stay out there, or is he going to move over and give these lead lap guys a shot at a win?
Well, I think as long as he was behind Refner and the two of them were alone, he was really, it was okay in a moral way for him to stay where he is. Now I think in the closing 10 laps of this race, it's really up to Hansen to sort of move aside and let the lead lap cars. He would expect them to do that for him, and I have to feel like, as good a sport as Scott Hansen is, that that's exactly what he will do for them.
If, I think, he gets some serious pressure from the guys behind him, he will. If not, he'll continue to run right there.
He's not getting any serious pressure right now. It's still a couple of car lengths back to the car of Kenny Irwin Jr. Irwin dives hard into 3s. Very good getting into turn 3. That's where Mike Eddy made his mistake in qualifying. Was not able to get into 3 and subsequently out of 4 very well, but Irwin doing a good job in that very turn.
Top 5 pretty much together on the racetrack. Brian Refner, Kenny Irwin, Mike Eddy, Mike Miller, and Brad Loney. Then it's about half straightaway back. In traffic, 6th is Jay Sauter. Right behind him are Bob Sineker, Joe Knott, and Gary St. Amant.
5 cars racing for the top 4 spots. And the final podium spot is Mike Eddy and Mike Miller right now. The front 2 cars, Brian Refner and Kenny Irwin Jr., a sophomore driver and an out-and-out rookie in his first ASA start that I know of anyway. Those are the 2 guys running hard on the track right now. And leading the 2 veterans, Mike Eddy and Mike Miller. 6 laps to go, coming up on the last 5.
And Mike Eddy has nothing left, it doesn't appear, for Kenny Irwin. Even if he was able to get around Irwin, could he catch Refner? And now Hanson's got a decision to make as he has moved right in behind Refner. Is he going to pass Brian? And maybe that would be the smart move if he is able to get by. And Mike Eddy spins coming off turn number 2. And if you were going to point to a guy and say he'll spin, that would not have been the one in that lead group that you would have expected.
Well, Mike Miller and Mike Eddy were very close to one another. The caution comes out, of course, with 5 laps to go. Mike Eddy is out of the race. It was Mike Miller that was behind him. Was there any contact? We're going to have to wait and see and hope perhaps that our camera guys and our videotape replay guys do the usual superb job. And here it is.
You may have just witnessed the defining moment in the 1995 AC-Delco Challenge Series Championship. Mike Eddy, the handle's going away. Mike Miller trying to pressure for position. There was just a little bit of contact, and that's all it takes when you're on a greasy racetrack. And we'll look from a couple more angles. I think there was slight contact, but it was so incidental, Brian. I think it was more a factor of where it occurred on the racetrack than the fact that there was actually much. And you can see Mike Miller was on the brakes trying to allow Mike Eddy to get straightened up. So
well, he certainly got it straightened up quickly. Took out one of our banners. One more quick look here, and then we're going to go down to Ralph Shaheen with some thoughts on it. Here we are again, coming out of 2. And Eddy definitely a little out of shape there. Can't see if there was contact between the front of Miller's car and the rear of Eddy's, but it certainly appeared as though either Mike Eddy was on his way around a little bit on his own, coming out of that second turn, or that Mike Miller, trying to avoid it, got into the back of him there, and well, we don't see any real obvious damage on the front end of Mike Miller's car. Net effect is Miller's now 3rd. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Carl Hyland just walked over to talk to Howard Thomas. Howard, what did Carl Hyland say?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What did Carl Hyland say to you? Was there contact?
Yeah, Mike got into him a little bit. Turned him around. What more can you say?
I guess that's about it.
Yeah, and it's one of those deals where I know that's an overworked racing phrase, but you really can't fault the way that eventuated. And I know Mike Eddy's been on both ends of this kind of a situation. A lot of times he's had the finger pointed at him for it. This time, unfortunately for him, he was the recipient.
Well, and these are 2 guys that are terrific friends. They're pitted directly across from one another. They have shared information, parts, and everything else all season long. Carl Hyland, by the way, the crew chief for Mike Miller on the number 18 car. The 18 machine of Mike Miller now in 3rd spot. The Funcoland Kings Controls Pontiac has inherited 3rd by an incident that brought out this latest caution. The lap count frozen at 3:9.5. We will race 5 laps to green. What does this do for the chances now? As what is Scott Hansen going to do to allow?
Well, there's your answer right there. Scott has moved to the low side of the racetrack, and we do freeze the lap count. I can't imagine we've got any first-time viewers, but if you've just joined us and you're brand new to ASA racing, the last 5 laps must be run under green flag conditions. That means that Brian Refner's victory here this afternoon is very much in doubt. We've run 4 laps now under caution. He'd have been taking the white flag this time by and would be assured of victory. Not so in ASA. You got a race to the win, and Kenny Irwin had a stronger car, Brian, over the last 15 or 20 laps. Refner no longer will have the luxury of Scott Hansen as a buffer. Can he hold him off?
Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen once again with Brian Refner's crew chief.
That's Les Bach. Les, what are you saying to Brian with just about 5 laps to go?
Well, just tell him to get a good start, you know, and just keep his cool, you know, and take it to the end. You know, we got a good shot at winning this right now.
Do the tires seem to be holding?
Yeah, they seem to be. You know, they came back good after that last yellow, so I think we'll be all right.
Well, it is Brian Refner, Kenny Irwin, Mike Miller 3rd. 4th is Brad Loney. In 5th position, several car lengths back, is Bob Seneker. 6th is Joe Knott. 7th is car number 7, Gary St. Amant.
They're telling us it'll be 4 laps to go when they go green. Apparently they are counting a single lap prior to the caution, or prior to the countdown here or something. I'm not sure exactly why. Normally it's 5, but we're seeing 4 laps to go on the lap count.
Well, what happened is the incident occurred after they had completed lap number 396, so they don't revert back a lap. It's just that the last 5 must be run under green. Had the accident occurred on lap 398, we'd stop the lap count there and would have 2 more green flag laps. It's just the last 5 will be raced under green flag conditions. So lap 395 was, in effect, what I'm saying.
I see.
By the way, Mike Eddy, if you were wondering, is now being shown in 9th position, the last car on the lead lap. 10th and 11th right together are Dave Sensiva and Brandon Sperling. They're a couple of laps off the pace. So 9 cars on the lead lap, then it's Sensiva, Sperling, and Ted Smokestat, and those rookies have just hung tough all day.
extremely tough. And in fact, Scott Hansen has moved down to the low side of the track. We understand that he was asked to get out of the way by the ASA officials. They're pretty quickly on top of things here, and they too want a clean final 5-lap race to the checkered flag among the lead lap cars. And Scott Hansen, were he in that position, would expect the same.
Let me throw the proverbial monkey wrench in this whole scenario. Okay. Can I do that?
Okay.
There is an obscure ASA rule that says a race winner cannot, in a subsequent season, run for Rookie of the Year. You know what that means? If for some reason now, Kenny Irwin,
I see where you're going
if Kenny Irwin wins this race,
as Bobby Gill did,
if he gets by Brian Refner, there's no Pat Shower $50,000 rookie bonus in his future. And how much harder a sale would that be to a prospective sponsor to get on board with him to run this season? So you're his crew chief. What do you say? Just run second, kid. No, I don't think so.
Now they're saying that they had a little bit more difficulty than they anticipated getting Scott Hansen to move out of the way, and that is why the long delay out there right now. Now Hansen has, in fact, moved down on the pit road, and so Scott Hansen was for failure to move over for Scott Hansen, and a black flag displayed for the 53 car and its driver, and now we have the racetrack ready to go. The final 5 laps, count them 5, will be under green. There's Scott Hansen getting ready to climb out of the car, and certain will have something to say on the subject.
He's another guy that's been the subject of some rumors. There's been some speculation that he might again change teams, as he has a few words for a fellow named Rogers, one of the ASA officials. I'll leave his last name out of this. There's been some speculation that Scott might do something different next year. But he's had a good run with Gunderman. I know they parted company in the middle part of last season. And I think if they stay together again, Scott's going to be a contender for the championship in 1996. You know, it's a situation, get to this time of year, and almost everybody has at least a few rumors being told about them. You know, it keeps it interesting, and we're ready to go green.
Well, I think it's mandatory that rumors be spread at the end of the racing season. It seems to be, you talk about an obscure rule. I bet if you read the really fine print in almost any governing body rule book, you'll find that, yes, silly rumors commence within 5 laps of the end of every season. We're back to green flag, 5 laps to go. Brian Refner leading, 4 laps to go, it will be. And Brian Refner leads over Kenny Irwin Jr. and Mike Miller. That's the podium spots right now, with Brad Loney trying to challenge to get up there on the steps as well.
And Irwin didn't get a particularly good start. Now he closes right in behind car number 5. Brian Refner, and Mike Miller again could play the spoiler, as he did with Mike Eddy. If he puts the pressure too hard on Irwin can't even worry about Brian Refner.
Well, it looked like Irwin a little loose coming off of 4 here. Refner just kind of pedaling along in the front. It really doesn't matter much what Brian Refner does in terms of the championship. If the race ended right now, no matter what position he was in, and on the lead lap, it would still not endanger his chances much, because his closest rival, Mike Eddy, went out. Now Irwin has moved up the racetrack and is slowing dramatically. His car is all over the place, gets into Sauter. Now Irwin out of the way, Mike Miller into second spot. That was extremely weird. He must have cut a tire. He's into everybody out there. He cannot control the race car.
Mike Miller is second. Brad Loney is third. 2 turns to go. It's going to be Brian Refner trying to control his own fate in a championship. The double checker flags, and he'll win it by half a car length over Mike Miller.
A pair of second place finishes for Mike Miller in the 18 car, but this time it's behind sophomore driver Brian Refner, who has done a very big job of making sure that his chances of winning an ASA championship are sealed. It is not over by any means yet, because we still have Jennerstown, and as everyone has said, anything can happen in a long race. But right now it is Brian Refner with his second victory of this 1995 season, the second victory of his career. We'll be back.
Tim Conway's back, and he's hauling in a whopper. It's Dorf Goes Fishing, this year's funniest comedy home video. Let Tim Conway, as that master sportsman Dorf, show you everything you've always wanted to know about fishing. Go back in time to man's first fishing method. Let Dorf show you what to wear, how to clean your day's catch, how to get in shape, the joys of fishing with your spouse, plus important boating and safety tips. Dorf Goes Fishing is guaranteed to be the funniest fishing video you've ever seen, and it's not available in stores. So what are you waiting for? Call and order Dorf Goes Fishing today. Call now and you'll get Dorf Goes Fishing plus this official Dorf floating keychain absolutely free.
For rush delivery, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-522-5333. The funniest, the most outrageous Tim Conway at his very best, Dorf Goes Fishing. That's 1-800-522-5333 or send $19.95 plus $4 to the address shown on your screen. Order now.
Welcome back to Toledo Speedway, where Brian Refner has just won the Toledo 400. Congratulations. Tell me about the last couple laps.
Oh, you know, we were hoping it was going to go green to the end. You know, we ran a long time on this last set of tires just because, you know, we knew the track position was going to be an important play here, you know, and Mike pitted, and, you know, he had a hard time coming back through. So it was the right decision. You never know if that's the right decision or not until the end. So, you know, we made the right call this time, so I'm really happy. You know, this takes that points battle even farther for us. So, you know, it's really great. You know, it's a second win for us, and our second career is just fantastic.
Good day for Brian Refner. And gentlemen, you can see him clinch the championship live on Prime coming up in October.
2 weeks from today, in fact. The Wynn's winning move, I think by consensus, is awarded to Brian Refner for a variety of reasons. The one that really cinched it was holding off Mike Miller's desperate charge to take a victory here today.
And a defensive Wynn's winning move, but sometimes defense wins the game, as it did for Refner.
A car-length victory here over Mike Miller. And the third-place finisher there we see sneaking into the picture was Brad Loney. The Wynn's winning move. Here is the top 10 finishers. Brian Refner, Mike Miller finishing second for the second time this year. Refner's second victory. Brad Loney third, Sauter Seneker. And we certainly hope you enjoyed this broadcast as we continue to look down the results. A couple of quick final thoughts, Rob Albright.
Yeah, Kenny Irwin, 1995-6. His rookie status is still intact.
Love to know what was going on with him on that final lap. That's a story for another day, and we will join you 2 weeks from today at Jennerstown for the championship race. For Ralph Shaheen down in the infield, for the entire crew here of Group 5 Sports, and for my broadcast partner Rob Albright, Brian Drever saying so long. We'll see you soon.